talk show.
Recorded live.
Welcome to the Lost Lowdown, podcast number 36, with your hosts, Claude and Justin.
Hey.
So, we're coming to you to discuss the new information that was released from the Lost creators and writers at the recent Comic-Con convention.
Yay.
Most notably, the Orchid video, orientation video, which to me is the most incendiary video yet. Like a news commentator.
Do you mean most incendiary among the orientation videos? Or
no, I mean the most incendiary of all videos ever.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. I know Madonna's has some crazy videos, but this beats that. No, I mean, yeah, the most incendiary video of the orientation videos.
Okay.
/ films.
Yes, of course.
I want to take issue with some parts that are obviously due to the fact that it's a TV show, but I don't know. Anyway. I don't know where to start, except I guess we'll maybe give a little overview. First, if you haven't seen it, it's obviously on YouTube. You can go to lostpedia.com and look up the Orchid, and they have a little information about what information there is about it, and the video itself on their site. Were you gonna say something?
No.
I heard a whimper.
Well, I thought about it, then realized I shouldn't.
Maybe it was the rabbit.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Speaking of rabbits, I haven't done that in a while. This is obviously spoiler information. I mean, because I guess, right? I don't know. It's not in the show. Obviously this isn't from an episode. This is obviously something they're going to get into at season 4, which hasn't started yet. So, I mean, if you're already listening now, then you're probably spoiled anyway a little bit.
I would say that this is in the same realm as the Lost Experience stuff from last summer.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Which, in terms of the show and spoilers, I mean, it really didn't spoil much as far as the show went. And I have a feeling this will be the same kind of thing. Just a guess.
Oh, so you're saying you don't think we're gonna see this in season 4?
This video? No.
Well, I mean the Orchid Station or any more information about it.
We could actually see. Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Not this video though.
Okay, interesting.
Well, especially because of the way the video is, it's clear this isn't the final cut.
This isn't the final cut. Why would they find this? Of course. Good point.
So, I expect they might find the station. Since they introduced the station, that was the thing about the Lost Experience. They didn't necessarily introduce a clear new thing that they could find.
Mm-hmm. So, it was all sort of stuff that was sort of tangentially related.
Yeah, it was kind of, it did a lot of filling in the background of stuff we already knew about.
Yeah. So
there wasn't a clear new thing to introduce.
Yeah, this is interesting because it's a precursor to something. It's like, hey, there's this other station out there, and this is a little information about what they were doing there, and presumably, someone's going to find that station, hopefully next season, because I don't want to wait too long.
Yeah.
But we see Marvin Candle again, quote unquote Marvin Candle.
Mm-hmm.
He claims his name is Dr. Edgar Halowax.
Right.
Some people claim they hear Hourwax, Hourwax, or Horwax, or however you want to pronounce that. I hear Halowax.
I hear Halowax. The secondhand report said that first, and I thought that's a bizarre name. And then when I heard him say it, it definitely sounds like. Some people thought his first name was Edward too, and it sounds like Edgar to me. So
yeah.
So whatever. Continuing in the tradition of the last name having some kind of candle reference.
That's the important part.
We got the wax in there. So
gotta put the wax in there. Wax it up.
Wax it
Edgar.
up.
Wax it up.
Whatever your name is. Yeah.
So he goes on to say, I mean, obviously this video, I mean, hopefully you guys have seen it, but this video shows a little sort of behind the scenes, you know, a little action right before he starts filming the actual video. So you can see sort of what the production is like with these videos, which is really, really interesting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like these videos just kind of, you know, are produced out of the ether, but
yeah.
you know what I mean? They're just born somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But now we get to see, you know, that there's a film crew involved, and you know, which I'd love to know how much they know about what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, that'd make an interesting little, I don't know, something. See what the film crew know, you know, some random film crew presumably hired to come to the island to shoot this, or maybe they're Dharma people who have some sort of film experience, you know.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure this question is something we should not be thinking about, but that's the kind of thing I think about.
Mm-hmm.
It's who's the film crew? But anyway, he goes on
the makeup lady.
The makeup lady, yeah. He goes on to introduce himself and the station number 6, the Orchid, and that and he reveals that it's not a botanical station, research station, as the viewer was made to believe, but it was actually, what did he say? He didn't say what it was. He just said.
No, I don't think he ever did actually get around.
Yeah, sort of cut. Then he says he, you know, apologizes for making the viewer deceive their friends and colleagues, and he goes on to talk about, or at least mention the word, the Casimir effect, which is a physics term. I guess we'll give a little background on that, save you guys the research time. Not that it takes that long, but the Casimir effect is basically a principle of quantum mechanics that basically sort of validates the idea that in the vacuum of space, it's actually not empty. When you look at it at the subatomic level, there's actually electromagnetic waves of all possible wavelengths in that space, and the scientist Casimir in 1948 predicted this with the idea of having two parallel plates, you know, move very close together, therefore limiting the wavelength that are between them, and then you can sort of observe an attraction between these plates. So that's pretty much the gist, right, Justin?
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good to me.
And this idea of this force in the vacuum of space, or in a quantum vacuum, is used by other, you know, scientists to propose ideas for faster than light travel and things like that. So it has great implications, and it's very interesting. I love when they pull the, you know, real science into the show, especially interesting science.
Yeah,
I think this is really interesting. So. Anyway, he goes on to talk about that, and that the island, what did he say? That the unique properties of, sorry, I kind of forgot, that the unique properties of the island create this effect, which is very interesting. We all know about the electromagnetic properties of the island, and now we know a little bit specifically that it creates this Casimir effect. How it does that, of course, we don't know. They probably don't know either.
Yeah.
So later, as we cut, basically the viewer has been selected to study this field, and I guess they have these experiments set up to test it and, you know, find out information about it. And it obviously involves these rabbits. And one of the specific things that came out from Comic-Con is that this station was used to clone rabbits, which is not something that's explicitly said in the video. But I'm assuming Carlton and Damon said that.
I don't think so.
Is that just
I
a guess
watched
people made?
The video footage of Comic-Con
okay.
from beginning to end, and they were very vague. All they did, the way it worked out is they did their Q&A, and then when they left, they showed this. And
free to leave now. Watch this.
Yeah,
and they're not there to answer questions. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And they introduced it by, a sort of half serious introduction, saying like we found this in a vault in Sweden or something like that. It was they didn't. They just sort of, it was sort of like, like a Blair Witch Project kind of setup.
Yeah.
But they didn't talk about the content at all.
Okay.
So the idea that this involves rabbit cloning, I'm guessing, is just a deduction made by the audience based on what they saw in the video.
Okay.
I think they came to that conclusion, but it's definitely not explicitly stated, so I don't think it's quite clear yet exactly what they're doing with the rabbits.
Okay. Yeah, I'll buy that. The idea that they were cloning rabbits to me was very strange.
It is very strange.
To what end would they be cloning rabbits?
I would guess they would be cloning rabbits to clone, just for cloning in general, just to study the cloning itself. Like the idea that you would want to clone rabbits, it's unlikely, considering,
Well, rabbits don't really reproduce that well on their own. Rabbits are notorious for reproducing very, very slowly. So cloning would be the most productive and cost-effective way of reproducing rabbits.
Right. So you just made the point I was going to make in a boring way. So, which is that, obviously, there's no need to clone them. They're not an endangered species or anything, and they're not, these creatures that we really need for any particular purpose. So, I would say it's just, if you were to do it, it would be just to study the effects of cloning itself.
Well, my half-assed idea when I first, heard this idea that they were cloning rabbits were the idea that they were cloning rabbits to find out how to clone people for their reproductive efforts, which is really what the others are doing, not specifically Dharma.
True.
But I thought that would be connected to that somehow, trying to figure out how to create life on the island or something.
Which raises a question that I don't even know if we've talked about, but did Dharma have trouble with reproduction?
I don't know. I would guess not. I mean, I would, I don't think there's any way to really tell. I would say that it probably wasn't even something that they were concerned about or even were aware of, unless, they brought a couple to the island and then they tried to have a kid or something, just by the fact that they live together or whatever, and that they love each other and are married. Sorry. Because sex without marriage, kids, is immoral. And anyway, so and then maybe the wife dies or something like that, and then they might find this out. I don't think that this is something that they were really trying to do, and if they discover the phenomenon and that it applied to them, to the Dharma guys and gals, it would be something that they sort of found out just by sort of accident.
Yeah.
They just discovered during their time there.
Now,
but I don't,
we saw Ben's dad go there, and bring him. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing that if they recruited people with families, they would generally maybe bring the family with them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I think it's possible that they might have observed some problem. Not that they were like studying it, but maybe if some of the women got pregnant there or were pregnant before and had some kind of problems, and they noticed this consistently occurring. I'm just wondering if they ever ran into that in the years they were there.
I think it all depends on how many women would have had this problem and died. And I think obviously being scientists, after maybe the maybe fifth or sixth death or something, or maybe even before that, they would have said, okay, something's going on here. What's going on? But how long was that period of time? How long did it take to get that many failed pregnancies / deaths? I think is the real consideration.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, basically, I don't think that was something they were really focused with, if they even observed it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even thinking they studied it. I'm just wondering if they even had that problem. Like, even if they weren't aware of it.
If it affected them at all.
Yeah.
I would have to assume it would have affected anyone on the island.
It should have, right?
It should have. I mean, I don't see any reason it wouldn't.
Okay.
Unless, it's some sort of situation where this effect happened after the incident or something like that.
Yeah.
Like pre-incident, there was no problem. Post-incident or post some sort of event, that's when the trouble all started.
Yeah. Which I can buy to some extent. But I don't know. I just the idea that they would build a station just to study that is, doesn't seem likely.
Build a station to study the whole pregnancy thing, reproduction thing? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So if they were studying cloning, I would guess it's for some other purpose.
Mhm.
I don't know what that might be, but yeah, one of the reasons to do animal cloning is to think about human cloning.
Mhm.
So that could have been that. If they're really dealing with the whole Valenzetti equation, world-ending stuff, maybe they're considering the idea of a global population disaster and, how cloning might help to remedy that or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no clonologist, but I don't know if cloning rabbits is really the way to go in terms of trying to clone humans. You'd want to try to, work on cloning something more akin to humans like, chimpanzees, but maybe they're more expensive.
Mhm.
So,
and more fun.
More fun, too.
And they have more personality.
They eat bananas, so
and they
rabbits,
eat bananas.
Rabbits just sit there.
Mhm. Yeah. But they are mammals, at least.
They are mammals.
They have a lot of the same kinds of systems and stuff. It's they could get closer, but
a group of they clone a group of humans with red eyes.
Mhm.
That'll be scary.
That would be scary.
What's up, Red Eye? So anyway, what else happens in the video? Oh, the important part.
Yeah, please.
We haven't gotten to the interesting stuff yet. So as he's explaining the situation to the viewer, something falls from above, potentially the ceiling, maybe from a high shelf, and he kind of stops his little speech and turns around and he sees that there's another white rabbit on this top shelf. And it's that's when the drama gets going, and they get kind of freaked out, and what's going on? Which one is that one? And it the assistant comes in and says, "Oh God, it's 15," which is the same number on the rabbit that Halowax is holding. And then he says, "Don't let them near each other." He kind of moves the rabbit he's holding away from the other one. Potentially, if they got close to each other, something bad would happen. And potentially this has to do with the Casimir effect, two like objects, in close proximity, create some sort of force, or you can observe some sort of force there. So, and Justin, as I mentioned to you earlier, one of the things, I said in this video, they said some stuff I never want to hear people say.
Yeah.
And that thing is, don't put the two rabbits close to each other. I never want to hear anyone say that, because that's very scary that if two rabbits get close, something scary could happen. So there's your answer to that question.
All right. Good one. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Oh, God, it's 15. Don't let them near each other is not something I ever want to hear someone say.
Yeah. No, the nearness of rabbits should not be
exactly.
a vital
nearness
concern.
of rabbits. I like that as a title for a warm, introspective book. I can see that, a journey into the soul.
Mm-hmm.
The nearness of rabbits. Interesting. I like that. Got Edith Wharton written all over it.
Mm-hmm.
So he asks the assistant, when did you set the shift? She says -20, which presumably means 20 minutes. I guess sort of T minus 20 minutes, something like that, or 20 minutes ago she said it, or she said it for 20 minutes. Oh, that's what it is. She said it for 20 minutes, and he says, how long? And she goes 9 minutes, which potentially means, it's been 11 minutes since she said it. Was that your interpretation? And that there's 9 minutes until the shift starts? Or she said it -20, and there's 9 minutes, so it takes 29 minutes for the shift. I'm not sure how to look at that.
Yeah, it's weird to say -20.
I think they're trying to be sort of scientific here,
okay.
with their dialogue.
But if we're talking about a time, I don't think scientists are that crazy. I think they're capable of saying 20 minutes ago.
I don't think rabbits really have a Casimir effect when you put them together either. I guess they do maybe literally, but
not some kind of catastrophic thing we need to be afraid of. When did you set the shift? Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So, yeah, when did you set it? -20. Okay, how long? 9 minutes. Obviously, how long should mean how long do we have left or something?
Yeah, that was my guess.
Okay, which means if it was -20, then if he says how, obviously this isn't the shift, right? Because he says how long. So this isn't the shift, so it doesn't take 20 minutes. So if it's -20, when did you set it? -20 should have meant 20 minutes ago.
Oh, maybe -20 means like 20 minutes before some amount of time, like 20 minutes before the hour or something like that.
Yeah. That seems too, doesn't seem relative enough. Because he would need to know what time it was specifically then, to really know what that meant, right?
Then he asks how long. And then that tells him, how much there is left.
Oh, maybe the idea is she said it for 20 minutes. Oh, I think this is what it is. She said it for 20 minutes, but it was sort of happening now, and there was 9 minutes left. They expected it to happen 9 minutes from then, but it happened sooner because she says 9 minutes, but we're still learning how to ... Oh, okay. So maybe the idea is it was happening sooner than they expected. Like she said it for 20 minutes or 20 whatever.
Oh, okay.
When did you set it? -20. I feel like I'm almost close to understanding this, but it's something along those lines.
Okay, it should have taken 20 minutes, but it only took 9.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, it only took 11. Oh. Maybe, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay. She said it for 20, but then it took 9 minutes.
Yeah, I think that interpretation could work too. But yeah, see, in your case, she's saying sort of, how long until the 20 minutes are up. In my case, I'm saying how long did it take for it to happen?
Yeah.
All he says is how long, so that's a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, like she said it for 20 minutes. How long has it been since you said it? It's been 9 minutes since I said it. So yeah. I can see that way too. Yeah. And she says, but we're still learning how to. The idea that, we're still learning how to means that it should mean it happened sooner than they expected.
Yeah.
Because obviously they weren't expecting this to happen.
Yeah, clearly. By the behavior.
Unless they're just great actors.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, he looks at the candle / Halowax, looks at the looks at the camera and says, why is that still running? The director, cinematographer guy says, he told me to keep the camera running. The transcript says he told me to keep the camera running. I don't really hear a he. I kind of hear a you. It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, I mean, he kind of.
And he was supposed to be in that cage.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those. I can't distinguish a he. I can almost hear a you, but I almost don't hear anything because it's coming right off of the previous statement. Why is that still running?
Yeah.
It kind of flubs that first word.
Yeah.
So either
someone
told him to keep the
camera running,
or Candle told him to keep the camera running.
Yeah. Someone said this.
Yeah.
Whether it was some other person or him.
And then the camera cuts to an upside-down frame of someone riding a bicycle through the barracks. I think that's that shot we've seen before.
Yeah, the Juliet recruitment thingy, and also in the video when Ben's dad showed up on the island.
Mm-hmm. Now, during this time, I forgot to mention, you hear a female voice counting backwards from 10 and cutting off at 3. So potentially, it was counting down to something. It kind of sounds like the lockdown, or at least it reminds me of the lockdown countdown. But I'm not sure. I can't guess what's going to happen in 3 seconds. What do you think?
Me either. I don't even remember that part.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, you gotta be listening for it, but it's there. It's right after the assistant says -20. You can hear this countdown, and I don't know. I don't know what that means. Something's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
In the transcript, I didn't hear this, but in the transcript it says Candle's voice can be heard very faintly mentioning, quote, harvesting. And then after the chaos, it cuts back to Candle, everything normal, and he starts the beginning of the orientation from scratch, and then the film cuts off.
Yeah.
And he calls the orchid. He says the orchid is not a biological research unit, as opposed to station, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Unit. Yeah, right. Yeah, they cut him off at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The orchid is not a botanical research. We apologize.
Yeah. So, a couple of the other things, in the video, we see a flash, a frame or two of De Groot, and then we see the Hanzo building, and we see the very scary subliminal message: Jacob loves you as he. God loves you as he loved Jacob. And I think we probably talked about that before. The idea that it said loved Jacob, the idea that Jacob's dead or no longer around, or not a present tense version of the love.
Yeah.
Or maybe God doesn't love Jacob anymore or something. You can look at that a lot of ways.
When that originally came on, not in Portland, maybe it's just referring to the biblical Jacob.
And it could be referring to the biblical Jacob, yes.
Although, maybe he still loves him in a sense. I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to get into theology, but, that Jacob shouldn't be alive anymore, so...
Wow.
But obviously the implication is something to do with the Jacob on the island. Does make me wonder if Dharma knew anything about Jacob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously this video has a lot of cuts and a lot of strange editing, which, this is obviously, it was made in sort of the 70s, so this is film, and, we know these are films, so in order to get those splices, in order to get those frames, someone has to put those in there.
Oh, nothing. Here we go.
Oh, here you go with what?
I don't know, the technical aspects.
Yeah. I just, I mean, you watch the thing and you just kind of assume, I mean, even me, I get caught up with the idea that, obviously the suspension of disbelief that this is real, blah, 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 and that these cuts are just sort of in there. But with the film, you got, those things are, have to be physically put in there. So why someone would, I mean, obviously some of those things, you can understand why they put them in there. But, the upside down bicycle rider, why put that in there, I guess it looks nice for the video, but, and any sort of rational idea of someone putting this film together doesn't really make any sense. So I thought that was interesting. In the beginning, he's Candle / I'm just gonna call him Halawax.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's who he really is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
He says he'll never get used to wearing makeup. And then the director, whoever this guy is, says, "You look great." I love that. "You look great. It takes away the shine." And he goes, "Who cares if I shine? I'm a scientist, not a," potentially he's going to say actor.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he really is a scientist, and I feel like this was, I don't know, I feel like this film was more behind the scenes, and so I don't know. I want to believe he's Halawax.
I would be more inclined to believe that if he used that name in one of the sort of informal segments.
Yeah.
Not in the actual, the only time he says his name is when he's doing the actual, spiel for the, for the orientation video.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, so you were saying on podcast that he is an actor?
No. What I was trying to say was that he is not an actor. What I meant was that he was acting in the other films. You know what I mean?
Oh. Okay.
Like when he says he's Marvin Candle, he's really not. He's pretending. He's pretending to be all these people.
Yeah. Right. But it's not as though he's really giving some kind of performance, except in the sense that he's probably got some set things to say. It's any sort of hiding his identity, but I don't know. It's hard to know what you mean by, in this context, it's hard to know what the difference between being an actor and not being an actor would be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess you could say if he gave his real name, he wouldn't be an actor or something like that. But I don't know that makes that big of a difference.
Yeah.
Like you could go on TV and give an interview and use a assumed identity, because you want to protect yourself or something, and it doesn't seem like you're acting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the kind of thing he's doing.
Yeah.
He's acting like someone would give a lecture or something like that. It's I don't know. It doesn't seem like acting to me, so that's why
I see what you're saying. It's a valid point. I don't really know how to interpret his different appearances.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I guess he's making up these pseudonyms, presumably for some important reason. Why does it matter that he's Wickman in one, or and Candle in another? I mean, if anybody sees, if any one person sees these two, they're gonna know. And why not just use a different person if it's important to keep the anonymity or something, or make a distinction between the different guys in the video, but
it seems like if they really, they could use different people. They don't have to use him for all the videos.
Yeah, but it seems like they do have to use him for some reason. For whatever reason, he's the guy they have to use.
What I'm saying is, there's not a clear reason why they would have to use him. If they really wanted to use have different identities and not let people know that it was the same person talking to them, they could have. In theory, it seems like they could have used different people.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't for some reason. I think the thing that struck me as really odd about this is it's being dubbed as an orientation video, but the way it actually plays is more like outtakes or a blooper reel, of an orientation video, like these little a mishap during an orientation video, and a little bit of behind the scenes footage of him getting his makeup put on, and it's not it's obviously not the final version at all.
I feel like maybe in the show we'll see the final version and get some more information. And I think what sets this video apart a little bit is the implication that we were going to see an experiment, that he was going to show us something to do with what's going on here. But we didn't get to that part. It sort of cuts off before that.
Yeah, I'm guessing it would have been something like what he did in the other videos, some kind of demonstration of some standard task they were supposed to do there, involving the rabbit. Otherwise, it's just a prop. So I would guess that he would go through the motions of something. Yeah, that is what it seemed like.
And the other thing is he has full use of his arms in this one.
Yeah.
So potentially he was faking in another one in the which was it, the Swan video?
Yeah.
Where he didn't sort of use his arm.
He appeared to have usage of his arm in the Pearl video, and the Swan was, I guess, the one where he supposedly didn't. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up about the idea of him using different names. The other thing we brought up that's pretty odd is. In episode 20, the man behind the curtain, when Ben and his dad arrived on the island, they used him in that video in that sort of registration room, welcoming them to the island. If they all see this fucking guy as soon as they get there, how hard is it going to be for if they talk to each other to figure out that they saw the same guy in their orientation videos under different names?
Yeah, I think you brought that up. Yeah, exactly. And
there's the idea that you get about, they're supposed to keep secret that it's that they've been told it's a botanical research station, but it's not. And reconciling that with, what we talked about earlier with the Pearl and the Swan and the secrecy involved, but the fact that they get replacements and how the secrecy is supposed to be maintained in an atmosphere like that. It just doesn't seem very plausible to maintain something like that.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of stuff.
I know.
I think in the orientation video for the registration, we don't see him give his name. Yeah. So presumably, when someone comes to the station, they watch the registration video, and then they go and maybe see another orientation video for a different station. They will assume that they'll know he's the same guy, but they'll assume whatever name he gives is his real name. So at least they don't give him, give one name in the registration and another, in a different orientation video, and then you're really crazy. The only way you'd really question is if you saw more than one orientation video, or, you talk to someone else and you, I guess, break protocol and maybe say, oh, I saw this video with the guy from registration. Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Which would be bad. Now, the idea that that the viewer of the Orchid video has been telling their family and colleagues, has been deceiving them. That's what he said, right? Let me get the direct quote here. He goes, we apologize for asking you to deceive your family and colleagues. This is, of course, in the interest of their own security. And he says, as you no doubt have surmised, this is not a botanical research unit. So somehow, the viewer has figured it out by this point. I don't know how that could be.
I'm guessing just by inspecting the contents of the station, it's clear they're not doing that. The non-presence of botanical research items.
Well, I mean, I mean, obviously we can only speculate at this point, but I would love to know how is someone going to view this film? I mean, are they working at this? Are they assigned to this station? And presumably they're doing something with botanical research, right? I mean, they have to have some sort of cover. And then at a certain point, you're saying maybe this worker figures it out, and then they're shown this video.
No, I assume that whoever gets chosen to go to this place, right? I don't know how they assign the stations, but somehow they pick the crew for this station, right? And I guess what I'm assuming is they were told that they're going to go do botanical research.
But why would they have surmised before they've seen the video that it's not botanical research?
Well,
if before they go there, that's what they think.
Well, I'm about to get there with my attempt. I think the first problem I have with my theory already is if they think they're going for botanical research, they should get people who would know how to do botanical research. And if they get there and they're supposed to do something completely unrelated, seems like a bad idea. You want to get people who specialize in the thing you actually want to do, not botanical research. So that's one problem with my theory already.
Well, yeah, it depends, though. I guess it depends on how they're recruiting people. I mean, obviously they recruit people with certain skills, but maybe some of the things that they need them to do, you don't necessarily have to have skills in that area.
Could be.
I don't know.
I guess I'm assuming they're bringing the entire staff, including the people who do need to know what they're doing. And somebody's got to know what they're doing, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I would think that this is the first thing you see when you come to the station.
Now I think that's sort of true. What I'm imagining is something like the Swan or the Pearl, where in both cases they saw the place, then saw the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing they walk in there and they observe a place that seems to have nothing to do with botanical research. And they think, okay, something's up. Then they're shown the video, and that's the context in which he can say, as you've no doubt surmised.
But then he says, we apologize for asking you to deceive your... Oh, okay. I was thinking that the apology was that they have been deceiving their family and colleagues for some time.
Yeah.
But the idea is, now that you know the truth, we need to ask you to keep that secret.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's...
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's my. I still wonder about how they recruit people. It just seems like a bad idea. It's like, we're going to go do physics. Let's bring all the physicists, and then, well, no, we're really going to do chemistry. Sorry, guys. I hope you're ready. It just
chemistry and physics is all the same. I would suspect that maybe with something like this, obviously there's a lot of secret projects going on the island. One group of people aren't supposed to know what the other group are doing.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't rotate people out like they did in the Swan.
Yeah.
Because one idea of the Swan is that it's supposed to be an experiment, and if you're going to have an experiment, you want to test more than 2 people.
Right. And then in the later stages, at least of the Swan, it didn't appear to require any kind of expertise.
Exactly.
To run it. So, and neither did the Pearl, really. You just had to observe.
Yeah, you just have to be able to, see stuff on the screen and write with your hand.
I mean, honestly, now that I think about it, for a big research group, it's not clear that they were doing all that much research based on the stations we've seen. I guess there's some research involved in observing the people in Swansea, some kind of psychology. The flame appears to just be for communications. There doesn't appear to be research going on there. The Looking Glass didn't look like a research station, although I guess it could have been, but it certainly didn't appear to be one. The closest thing to a real research station that I can think of is the Hydra. The
Hydra, yeah. I mean, they had the medical station, but
the medical station, which
you could do something there.
You could do something there. Yeah, you could do something there. That's possible. Although it seemed to me to be more like a Dharma hospital than a research station. But they do research in hospitals, so whatever. That you could do research there, certainly. But I think the Hydra really explicitly appeared like they were doing animal research. it had the right kind of things.
Now,
other places didn't seem to have them.
It could be that the idea that they were into all of these facets of research is just not true, and that maybe potentially, this orchid was their big project.
Yeah.
And that's where they were focusing all their main efforts, and that what was going on in the Swan and the Pearl were a different thing. But like the idea that they had like these 6 big things that they were researching, maybe they really didn't. I don't know.
Right. Well, and then there's also a point worth making that, and I think what you're saying is pretty reasonable. That I think a real research place would look more like the lab Juliet was in.
Mm-hmm.
In her flashback. That looks like the kind of place where research might actually go on. And that's the kind of place that isn't that exciting to explore.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's a lot of paperwork, files, and like little stations, and
sounds great.
And yeah, it's just not
I
not
can't
exciting.
wait till they open that file.
It's exciting for the people doing the research, but for a random person who goes in there, it's probably going to be pretty boring. So I think that might be part of the reason why the stations don't look like research stations. They're kind of designed to look interesting more than look like research places.
Yeah.
So that's whatever. That's a meta thing. So they could still be in theory doing research, even if it doesn't look like they're doing much.
They're supposed to be doing research, but yeah.
We're just supposed to believe they were somehow.
And where's all their findings? Where's all their paperwork? Where's all the anything?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a great point. That's
the
the
idea
kind of
the idea that the others cleaned out the staff station, the medical station. Where did they put all that stuff? Oh, I forgot. They put it in the room, the hidden room. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the hidden room.
Yeah, I forgot about all that equipment in there.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. Yeah, that did solve a mystery. I got to give them that.
Yeah, I'm like they didn't drag that stuff to some other part of the island.
They're great furniture movers somehow. Oh, they just dragged it down the hall. Big deal.
Yeah, they all got wheels on them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was good. At least in terms of resolving something. But I guess I tend to still believe they were supposed to have been doing research, but it does seem as though some projects ought to have been more important than others, and maybe this really is one of the the primary thing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If not the only thing.
And it could be that they're that they're related. That whatever they're doing, like if this orchid project is their main thrust. It could be that, whatever they were really doing with the Swan was, obviously the electromagnetic properties are related, but maybe the psychological part's related too.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow. They get data from that, and it helps with whatever they're doing at the orchid or something.
Yeah.
So, it could be all interrelated. And, of course, we know that there's polar bears and a Dharma shark and all that stuff. So they were definitely doing something with animals, and, of course, the rabbits. Now, and here's a quick question. We saw Ben have a rabbit. He did his old rabbit trick to Sawyer that time. That was very scary.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes me wonder. Maybe that rabbit was going crazy because of this like Casimir effect or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was some rabbit that was researched and experimented on. But my question is, I wonder, did Ben get that rabbit from the Orchid Station, or did he get it from?
I just had a weird thought about that episode that I can't believe I never thought of. Are we supposed to believe that bunny really did have an implant in it, like he said it did? Or wait a minute, no. The big revelation was he showed it was still alive. But what did happen to it? And I don't think I ever thought about what really happened to it.
What did he say? I forget. Did he say? I forgot how he explained why the rabbit.
I think he said he drugged it or something, and so it just he just gave it like a tranquilizer or something.
I forgot it was a number 8 bunny, not a number 15 bunny.
Yeah, it was an 8 bunny.
Number 8 bunny.
It was an 8 bunny Stephen King reference because
that's right.
it was a red 8 on its back, which is how Stephen King described it, not a black 8 on its side, which is more along the lines of what they show in this video.
Yeah. Well, from the picture I'm seeing, it's a red 8 on the back, the black 8 on the back.
Oh, it's a black 8?
Yeah, it's a black 8.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought it was red. I know.
He says, Ben says he only gave the bunny a sedative, then places it back in its bag. I think that's a lie.
That's
and Ben
not
agrees.
red.
Well, I'm looking at a picture. It looks black to me. If you search for bunny on Lostpedia, it shows you the pictures, and it definitely does not look black.
You mean red?
Red. Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
I should stop drinking during the podcast.
I think I'm thinking of its red eyes.
Yeah, the red eyes.
I think that's where I got red from. But it is on its back.
It is on its back. And the bunny, it could have the 15 on its side because it'd be strange to hold that bunny.
Yeah.
Like hold its ass towards the camera, the whole time.
Yeah, it looks a lot better the way they wanted to shoot it. So
yeah,
I agree. That's probably, but it's clearly some kind of reference to that.
I mean, obviously they're Stephen King fans. An 8 on a bunny's back. I mean, that's got to be some sort of reference, right?
Oh, by some kind of reference. I wasn't even talking about that anymore. What I meant was,
I can't keep up with you.
What I meant was the 15 on the bunny in the new film is a reference to the 8 on the bunny in the episode.
Oh, sure.
Not obviously not by the makers of the video in the context of the thing, but by the people who made, actually made the video.
The writers, you mean?
Yeah, the writers.
Okay.
The writers, yeah. They're hearkening back to that by having a bunny with a number on it. A white bunny with a number on it.
Maybe the idea is that there are, I would say, here's my little theory real quick, that there are a certain number of rabbits, either 42 rabbits total or maybe just 6 rabbits total, corresponding to the numbers.
Okay.
And I guess I shouldn't say total. I should say that there are either 12 rabbits or 84 rabbits. That each rabbit. Okay, here's my point.
It's getting really weird.
And the rabbit walks into a bar and he says, "No." Well, my point is, okay.
There's either 12 rabbits or 84 rabbits.
Yes. Oh, I think. Okay,
where are you getting those numbers?
Okay, I think that there are for each rabbit. Okay, it's hard to explain this. Okay. Say there's 6 rabbits, right? And each rabbit has a number on it, 4, 8, 15, 16, 42, 32, 42, 24.
23, 42.
Yeah, sorry. It's been a while. Okay, I think that each rabbit has a clone of itself, okay? So if there are 6 rabbits with the number, then that means there's 12 rabbits, okay? The other idea is that they just have one rabbit from 1 through the end of the numbers, which is 42. So there's 42 rabbits, each with a clone, which is 84 rabbits.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
So, however many rabbits there are, okay, but I think it has something to do with the numbers.
Okay,
obviously,
I thought you were just pulling those numbers out of your ass. What the fuck is he talking about? There's got to be 12 rabbits or 84 rabbits. Nothing in between. Okay.
It's basically, 2 stems of the same theory. The only difference is how many rabbits there are. Yeah. But the idea is that each rabbit has a clone of itself, an identical genetic copy. Mm-hmm. And so this corresponds with the Casimir effect, okay? Okay. So that the idea these 2 rabbits can't be together because of this force that would be, I mean, I don't really know. From what I understand, the Casimir effect, the force between them, I mean, it's an attractive force, the like density of the force like decreases with the closer they get together. So seems like keeping them together. I mean, putting them together wouldn't do a lot, but I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway,
but they observed it by putting things close together.
Yeah, exactly.
So possibly the writers, not quite, dealing with the full ramifications of the theory.
Well, yeah, and so anyway, my little theory is that they're sort of cloning these rabbits to sort of study and observe this Casimir effect on like a living animal or something like that. And the other idea that it could be this idea, people have put out ideas of parallel worlds and parallel dimensions, stuff like that. And, there's that idea that two objects can't occupy the same space or else they'll annihilate each other. And I think in science fiction there's that idea of you take one particle and then you take its exact mirror from another dimension or something, and you put them together and you'll get some explosion. So maybe these rabbits are the exact same rabbit, one from a different dimension or something, and if they got close together, kablamo, if they touched each other, because they are the exact same rabbit, basically. So, those are some things to think about.
Luckily, rabbits don't have the full range of self-awareness, so they probably wouldn't be as disturbed by seeing themselves as we would be.
Yeah, they don't know the difference.
Yeah. Just another rabbit.
Another white rabbit. That must be me. Give me a carrot to calm my nerves.
I like your rabbit. It's got a
dry sense of humor.
It does.
And likes to drink whiskey. So, what else do we need to talk about?
I want to get back a little bit to this thing. So you think Benny? Sorry.
Benny, huh? An old nickname, huh? You guys are best buds.
I was gonna call him Henry, and that's what fucked me up. You think Ben was lying when he said he just gave the bunny a sedative?
I think Ben is lying when he opens his mouth about anything.
Okay.
It just doesn't seem like. I mean, obviously, it's a show. They shot it a strange way, but it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would happen if you gave an animal a sedative.
And I think we did know that at the time. It really seems to be like bubbling or something.
Like it's gonna like blow up.
Yeah. It seemed like there was something seriously wrong with the rabbit, and he was shaking it. I guess the shaking was to sort of give the illusion that it was, the increased heart rate that caused it to collapse.
Yeah, why would a sedative, I guess maybe like the increased heart rate made the sedative pump through the bloodstream faster, which made it pass out faster?
Maybe. I didn't even think like that. I thought like they just gave it a sedative and they knew how long it would take, and so he just timed it out right, but your theory's plausible.
I try to think a little on the logical side of things. I try to, line up the sort of clues to make sense. But I mean, the idea that they knew how long it would take, works. But I don't know if you can count on that.
Probably not. If they can get it within a certain amount of time, it'll work. He can just shake it as long as it's not, like. Shit, it's going to be another 5 minutes before he passes out,
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here and shake this for a long time. As long as they can get reasonably close, I think that would work. But I don't know if that's, reasonable or not. And the idea that the heart pumping more, the bloodstream circulating faster would disseminate the sedative quick. I mean, that seems reasonable to me. Not being a doctor.
What? You gave me a physical yesterday. Yikes. So, what was the whole reason that? Why did Ben was trying to convince Sawyer that he had an implant, and that if his heart beat too fast, he would die.
Yeah.
That seems like a boring waste of time. What was the point of that? What did he want Sawyer to do? I forget.
Well, the big thing was like he wanted to control him, but then the big thing was the only way to get a con man's respect is to con him. So
oh god,
it was a combination of control and respect that he.
But what was he trying to control him?
What? Oh well, Sawyer had been getting a little bit feisty, I guess, and that was why they did it, supposedly.
Yeah, okay.
He's been a troublemaker.
And they just wanted to, But so now, I mean, at the end, Sawyer's supposed to, not that it matters, they've escaped, but he's supposed to stay in line now that he respects Ben or something? Yeah, something like that. Well, actually, the thing that's supposed to keep him, originally is, he shows him they're on another island. Mm-hmm. So that's supposed to, make him give up his hope, which it does. Yeah, it seems like all you have to do, skip the bunny part, just tell him there's no way he can escape. That should have the same effect, right? So, but he also has his respect because he's come in and he conned him. So it's, it's cumulative. Do you think if you con a con man, he would hate you for tricking him, like most people? You. Oh, he loves you. Oh, I see. It's the inverse con man rule. Exactly. The inverse con man principle. I studied that in college. ICMP, yeah. ICMP, yeah. ICMP, what? What? Oh, God. Okay. Gotta love that 4-year-old humor. Yeah, well, I'm going to kindergarten next year, so maybe they'll learn me right. Yeah, no, it's not the best, but I believe that's what we're supposed to believe. Yeah, I think that's what I'd like to call the runaround. Yeah, when you have plot points that are they're great when you're watching them, but they really don't add up to anything. Yeah, they're basically fucking around with us and filling time until they escape. Really are just killing time to the big reveal at the end that they could have skipped to. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't really wasn't really a need to do that. So what's this thing that falls in the video, man? Is it a light bulb? You don't hear anything break. I'm assuming what I assumed it was something from the top shelf, and that the bunny sort of jumped up there and knocked it down, which is why they were sort of aware that it was up there. Yeah. Which I didn't really know bunnies could jump that high. Actually, it looks like a light bulb. I just sort of watched that little part. And it looks like a light bulb. It looks like a huge-ass light bulb but it's not falling like upside down like a light bulb would fall if it fell from the socket. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't break. It doesn't sound like it breaks. And the assistant comes in and picks something up, presumably the thing that fell. Yeah. And if it was a broken light bulb, she wouldn't be able to pick it up so easily. You know, in one fell swoop. So I can't even imagine what that was. I'm gonna freeze it here. It looks like a really big light bulb, like a novelty-sized light bulb. Or maybe in the 70s, light bulbs were bigger. I don't know. But it looks like 3 times the size of a normal light bulb. Mm-hmm. And it falls right side up, which it shouldn't do if it was coming from a socket. I don't know. Yeah, and bunnies, I don't know if they're, especially those bunnies look big and fat. How far can they jump? They are pretty big. That's what I was thinking when I was watching it. Man, that's a big bunny. And they seem pretty lethargic. They are really lethargic. I love or maybe they're getting sedatives. I don't know. But I love when they show the second 15 on top of the little shelf and they're all scared and it's just sitting there whatever. Mm-hmm. What's all the commotion? Yeah, I'm number 15. What's it to you? Yeah, bunnies just don't care. Yeah, bunnies aren't the best actors. No, not really. They just kind of hang out. They're like, "What's up? What's up? What's up, bitches? I'm a bunny." When I see them in the wild, they're pretty. They run pretty far. Yeah. Fast. Yeah, these rabbits seem very strange. I think they're like New Zealand rabbits. That's not a joke. I think I read that they're like that's the name of them. They're like.
Really?
Well, this says on Lostpedia the bunny is a white New Zealand. I'm assuming
that
that's a
look
type
like
of
a joke light bulb. Like it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
I keep looking at it, trying to.
Yeah, it's a white New Zealand rabbit. That's a kind of rabbit.
Okay. Yeah, I really thought you were just making shit up. Like, yeah, whatever. Okay, well,
rabbits scare me, dude. They're weird. I've never been a rabbit fan.
No?
No, I mean I'm not like scared of them, but they're strange. They're
They are
very strange. I mean they're like big guinea pigs, and I've never liked guinea pigs.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, they are strange animals. Yeah, I don't know. I guess. Something fell down, and then they noticed the bunny sitting up there, and then.
Oh, so you don't think they're necessarily related? I mean, I don't either. I mean, it doesn't seem like it really came from where the bunny was, you know. And it does look like a light bulb, and that's presumably would be, you know, in the ceiling somewhere. And maybe the light bulb was big because it's supposed to be like a film light. Although film lights don't like look like that. At least the ones I've seen. But
yeah. I want to know, just for, I don't know, mild curiosity's sake, that the version of this that they played at Comic-Con is slightly different, very slightly different from, as far as I can tell, there's only one difference from the version that ended up on the ABC
the censor
website. Yeah, apparently when the commotion happens, not apparently, I saw it. Apparently, don't say it again.
Yeah, don't say not that and then say it again.
I know. It's when the commotion happens in the Comic-Con version, you know, he says, "What the fuck?" something like that, and in the Reddit version it says, "What the hell?" You know, they toned it down a little bit. It was pretty shocking to hear Marvin say the F word.
Yeah, that's pretty. You know, not that you need more shock. I mean, obviously he's shocked, but it's pretty crazy they would say "what the fuck" because he's really not expecting that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit more. It makes it a little more intense, I think. It makes it seem like he's more concerned about what's going on, I think. And that's the kind of thing that obviously will never be on the show proper. But yeah, I feel like it's worth noting that he said that originally. Yeah. Because it plays slightly differently, I think. So yeah, I think we're supposed to. I mean, it's still obvious from the edited version that he's upset with the situation. But
have you? So they have two versions of the same video. I've only seen the edited, the censored one.
Well, the uncensored one is not in a nice form. The only thing they have is people who are at Comic-Con, you know, holding their cameras up to the TV monitors.
The brave men and women who...
Yes. That was how I watched all the video footage of Comic-Con like that. And that's how I saw the video originally. That was the first version I saw because they hadn't released it on the website yet.
I see.
So, but obviously the edited version has the advantage that the quality is significantly better. The sound is a lot clearer. There was a lot of lines in the Comic-Con version I couldn't understand that come through on the edited version. So that's better, of course. But it might be worth looking at. It's out there too, you're interested.
Well, I have to say, this whole thing makes me very interested, excited, even more so about the next season. Now that there's some more mystery going on with, a sort of brand new facet of Dharma we had no idea about, which is pretty cool. I think at a certain point they're just pulling shit out of their asses, but we'll see how this whole thing pans out.
Yeah, I think, if anything, it's a good indication of the kind of thing they might have in their mind at the moment. The farther away you get from something happening, I feel like the less likely they're going to stick to that idea, very closely. But since this just came out, they just, probably fairly recently came up with the idea for it. I think it's relevant in that way and how they're thinking about the show right now. So in that context, I think, I don't know. I think they, maybe they'll find this place next season.
Oh, that was my question. You didn't answer.
Oh, what was the question?
Do you think Ben got the rabbit that he scared Sawyer with from the Orchid Station, or do you think there happened to be rabbits at the Hydra Station? I mean, it's just a wild guess, but... Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I would guess that... I don't know. I really have no idea. I'm assuming they don't necessarily occupy the stations most of the time. So I guess that, maybe they got a supply of bunnies from there, originally. But, maybe they're not necessarily located there right now, in the context of the show. They might have moved them to some other place like the Hydra or, the other's village or something like that.
They were, there was that scene when they were eating the rabbit. Presumably this is the same stockpile of rabbits.
Oh, yeah, the Alex rabbit.
Yeah.
And also, there was the rabbit that Little Ben had in the flashback, which I believe didn't have a number on it, but it was a white rabbit. And, one wonders where he got that. It's, I don't think he got that from the station, at least not directly.
It is interesting. It is curious to wonder how he got. I mean, maybe they had. I mean, the rabbits could be indigenous to the island. I mean, they're fairly close to New Zealand. If you think logarithmically.
Yes, and I do.
You know what that means. So, the rabbits could just be on the island naturally, they could have been brought over by Dharma and then cloned. I don't know how Ben got his rabbit. It could just be, his father got him one somehow just to, appease him or something.
Yeah.
As a little pet or something.
I'm bored. Here, take a rabbit.
Were there rabbits in the classroom?
I don't remember. I don't
remember either.
I don't think so, but maybe.
Seems the kind of thing, they could have in the class. Those elementary schools usually have like animals that the class that the students take care of.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Forgot about that. Yeah, I could see him. I could see him having a rabbit, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't either.
She was doing that volcano demonstration. And then there was the whole attack thing. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you said you don't know.
Oh, okay, great. What an answer.
Yeah.
What an answer.
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I don't really think that, but presumably the orchid is somewhere on the main island, so the idea that Ben, went or had someone go just to get a rabbit, I mean, yeah, I guess it was important for what he wanted to do. But they are at a zoological station too, so I could see them having rabbits there.
Yeah.
So it could sort of go either way.
Yeah, I feel like they could very well come from the same sort of pool of rabbits. But yeah, I don't think he necessarily sent someone to the station to extract one rabbit and bring it over. I don't think that's necessarily true. I wonder, I wonder if they're going to try to add more stations. I
really think they can't.
I'm slightly nervous about how many stations we have now. Seems like, I don't know, I get the impression that they can just throw a station out there whenever they want, and makes me a little bit nervous.
Well, I think, as far as the Blast Door map, they're good right now. If they have one more station, that's the thing. The Blast Door map isn't all-inclusive anyway, just by nature of how it was created. But I think if you just look at the Blast Door map, I think we talked about that. I think they're fine, right? Because I think there's 8 stations total. And I think now we've seen or heard about 8 stations. So if they come out with a 9th station, then it's going to be like, okay, now you guys are going a little crazy.
Is there really 8 on there?
Yeah.
I thought it was like 7.
Well, there's 8. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. There are 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 on there. Presumably the Hydra station wouldn't be on there. So that's the thing. There's 7 stations on the Blast Door map, and I think, is it just one that's crossed out? Yeah, one that's in a dotted line.
We know exactly what 4 of them are.
Yeah, one that's in a dotted line that's crossed off.
We actually know what 5 of them are specifically.
Yeah, the arrow's on there, the swan's on there, staff. The pearl's in the middle. I'm sorry, there's 8. There's 8 if you count the one in the middle. I always forget to count the question mark.
Yeah.
Just a question mark.
So there is 8.
Yeah. The pearl, the flame is on there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So there's 5 on there, and then there's one station that's in a dotted line crossed out. Then there's 2 other stations that are just in dotted lines. So that would be 8 total. And we have the Orchid, we have the Looking Glass, and we have the Hydra. So those are 3 stations that really shouldn't be on the map. Maybe the Orchid. But the Looking Glass and Hydra aren't on the island, so presumably, Brzezinski couldn't have found them, and maybe he heard about them. Maybe that's why they're in dotted lines or something.
Mhm.
That one that's crossed out. Who knows what that means?
Yeah.
Like I thought it was there, but I'm wrong, or like it blew up, or. There's any number of things.
It doesn't seem as though he found the pearl either.
Yeah, he didn't know what. I don't think he found the pearl.
He just thought there's something here. I don't know what.
Yeah, and I think that's largely for the fans.
I agree 100%. Right. So we have the swan, the flame, the staff, and the arrow explicitly labeled, and we have the pearl. Not explicitly labeled, but we know it's the question mark. So, which leaves 3 places unaccounted for, which have to include all the other places we've seen.
And the station that's crossed out has the word unknown with an exclamation mark written by it, underlined.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I don't know. It's very.
We still never figured out. Remember all the the CV and the C3 and all those sort of designations for the stations.
Oh, yeah. I think at Comic-Con they said what CV stood for.
Oh God.
It was Cerberus something. I think.
Cerberus vent locations.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. That's what that is.
What does that mean?
Cerberus vent.
That's where it would come out. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So maybe Cerberus / Smokey travels in these underground vents.
Yeah,
and
that's
how
actually
you
a
get
big revelation if I think about it a little more.
Yeah, that's huge.
It didn't seem like much when they said it.
I didn't know they said that. That's huge. I mean,
it was at Comic-Con. Unless you watched that, you shouldn't necessarily know.
See. So they just said that.
They just said that. Yeah. Cause someone was asking. Someone came up and asked rather, I don't know, glibly. May I call the monster Cerberus?
What did they say to that?
They said they gave a jokey response, and Damon said, whatever. May I call you Cerberus or something? And then they had a whole back and forth thing, and then eventually.
I can imagine the guy was like, yes, and then he turned into a smoke monster and ate everybody. Comic-Con ends in disaster as smoky surfaces in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Now that would have been publicity right there.
There's your publicity right there.
Forget about the whole, Michael
TV
Beck thing.
TV show creates monster that threatens Southern California.
So basically, they said, yes, you may, and also pointed out that CV stood for Cerberus event on the Blastor map. So.
Okay, so presumably Smokey doesn't necessarily travel on top of the ground all the time.
Yes, apparently. I didn't even think about the implications. I was just like, okay, whatever, who cares?
Mm-hmm. Or it could mean that there's more than one Smokey, and that each one has a radius around each vent.
Yeah. Now, as I look at the map, most of the CVs are around the Swan.
Mm-hmm.
3 out of 4, at least, are around the Swan.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got a fourth one in between 2 of the dotted stations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to make of that. If we're supposed to believe that, this is basically where you're going to run into it, run into Smokey, if he really, I don't know. Where can he go anywhere from these vents?
Yeah, I mean, on the little notes on the side says CV1, highly unlikely. Potentially that means the location is highly unlikely. I'm not sure what that really means. Then there's that little note, alleged location of number 4, the flame, but unlikely due to Cerberus activity. It's hard to tell what to make of that, what to even make of the map. I mean, I really don't think Dharma, created the stations in this octagon pattern just for the aesthetic value of it.
Yeah, no.
Unless there was some reason, specific reason they needed to do that, I can't imagine they did that. We've seen Smokey at the barracks, which are on sort of the north side of the island. And if you sort of look at this map in any sort of way, there's no vent really near sort of the north part.
Yeah.
Depending on what north really is for this thing. So it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, I guess I would just go with the idea that
we've seen him near
Smokey,
the Pearl too.
Say again?
We've seen him near the Pearl too.
I mean, I would go with the idea that there's just one Smokey and it can travel through these vents. Why it would need to, I'm not sure, unless it's just sort of faster or something. Or maybe it hides underground until it needs to come out. I mean, it did try to drag Locke into that hole. Maybe that could have been a vent location.
Yeah, you're right. It did. Maybe it was. I mean, why? I don't know why else there'd be a hole in the ground. Maybe it was. You're assuming this Blastor map is oriented the normal way.
I am because you know they landed on the south side of the island and they're fairly close to the Swan Station, so I figure you know more or less it's oriented with north being at the top of the map and south being at the bottom.
Mhm. Okay.
Although I feel like they should be closer to the staff than they are to the flame, but you know that's kind of hard to tell. But that's just sort of the sense I got from the show.
Yeah, that's the thing. I am a skeptic about actual directions in the show. I'm not sure I believe they're keeping track of that very closely.
Yeah, I mean, especially with that. Well, I think it was the final episode where like they all go one direction. The beach is on, you know, the ocean's on one side, and the next shot, the ocean's on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of those things. And I mentioned the Stephen King error of a similar type. And all he had to do was have the guys go along the beach for the whole book, and it doesn't seem like it could have been hard to keep that straight, but it managed to happen anyway. So I have a feeling that's not a priority on their list, and so so we may see a number of errors in that regard. So that's why I'm not that trusting about orientations of things. Meaning
I'll buy
much.
that.
You know.
I mean, I mean, obviously this map is drawn by a person, you know, Brzezinski/Kelvin, who you know sort of tried to do the best they could. They didn't necessarily have a compass or any real way to figure out what's going on.
And it seems pretty clear that the scale's got to be off because the stations take up a huge portion of what is seemingly the entire island. And that's, you know, there's no way they could be that big if that's the whole island.
Definitely.
So there's at least some scale issues and probably very likely some sort of position location issues because I don't think they're in this nice pattern. And then orientation on top of that. I mean, you know, Brzezinski, you know, he's making a map blind. What do you want him to do? You know.
Yeah.
He tried. He made a lot of notes.
He made a lot of notes, and he knew some Latin apparently.
Yeah, good for him.
Good for him. Everyone needs to know Latin. Oh, look at this. It says there's a little note here about could be number 6. I don't know what that means, but we know number 6 is the Orchid Station. Really? Yeah.
Where is that note?
The top left corner. Outside of the map. Could be number 6. I don't know what it's referring to. Maybe it's sort of close to the one that's crossed out, but, you know. And, I mean, any idea of what the C3 and C4 are on the 2 dotted stations?
No. No idea. C3. Yeah. Forgot about that. So much shit on
road or other route of travel.
C4?
Yeah, it's really strange. You know, there's a lot of random notes on here.
Yeah.
It says mountainous terrain most likely used by DIHG for meteorological research. That's interesting.
Yeah, I remember that DIHG thing.
Yeah, here's another reference to weather research, which we've really heard nothing about on the show. So maybe we'll get another station that does weather research.
Oh God. But you know, since the Blastar map is not official, they aren't quite yet required to strictly adhere to everything that's on it. So far, everything that's labeled we've seen. So, so he didn't seem to do too bad of a job.
Nope.
But I guess we can assume possibly he missed something, or you know, he was wrong about a station not existing, for example.
Yeah, here's a little note. It says questioning subterranean conduit. So there's another idea of this this underground passage for Smokey.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that says to me, if this is Dharma equipment, it says to me Smokey is a Dharma creation.
Mm-hmm.
If the vents that it comes out of are Dharmas,
Then why would Smokey try to attack them? Why would they need that sonic fence?
Great question. I don't know.
Well, okay, no. Well, actually, let's backtrack. I think we're jumping to conclusion here. If we go with the idea that hole that he tried to drag Locke into was a vent, then I don't know if Dharma created that hole.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that hole didn't look like what I imagine these things to look like. So
yeah, so maybe the vent isn't. I mean, maybe these conduits exist on their own. Maybe Smokey created them on his own.
Maybe the vent was at the bottom. Maybe you know what I mean? Like maybe
yeah, maybe I know. Maybe I know. I just don't buy
to go with that, but
I just don't buy that Smokey is a Dharma. I mean, I can buy it's a Dharma creation because it's like the Frankenstein monster effect or something.
Yeah.
But the only thing that we've seen that could be a vent is that hole. So I don't think the vent necessarily has to be like a man-made construction vent.
It doesn't have to be.
It could be.
But that's what I
imagine
that it is.
Yeah. I mean, it could go either way. I think I want to go with the idea that they're just holes or something that Smokey can come out of. Because presumably, if it's a vent, you can close a vent. You know what I mean? You could trap Smokey in there.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, and of course, maybe it could blast its way out or something. But I don't know. Interesting ideas put forth by all.
Definitely.
Some more to think about. Who knew we'd ever come back to the blast door map?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was pretty sure that was done. But I think, whenever they introduce new big Dharma facilities, it's always worth a look.
That's all we got.
Yeah, it really is. We really didn't there was that map that Ben had that looked kind of official. I think it had a couple of things on it.
Mm-hmm.
But and there was that map Saeed stole or whatever.
The one he got from Rousseau?
No, from the plane.
Yeah.
The little notebook with the barracks on it and stuff. It's supposedly.
Man, if Locke hadn't blown that place up, I'm sure there's a ton of information there.
I know. That's exactly what I thought at the time. Yeah, that's and I think they did that to tease us.
Yeah.
It was like everything you ever wanted to know is here, but you're never going to get it that way. So tough. They got exactly what they needed to proceed with the story, and no more.
And here another thing about Smokey. It's a little note on the map talking about the staff station. It says believed to have been abandoned due to AHMDG incident of 1985 or possible catastrophic malfunction of Cerberus system. So it could be the idea that they did create Smokey, and he is malfunctioning, or he did malfunction.
Yeah. I guess that's my pet theory for now.
Mm-hmm. Which would lead me to ask: was the sonic fence built before or after the malfunction? I mean, did they assume that he might malfunction and built it just in case, or did they quickly build that thing after he malfunctioned and he luckily didn't kill them all before they finished building it?
I'm going to go with, I guess I like the ring, at least in terms of what we've seen, of the idea that they built it as a safety precaution.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out to be
needed.
Yeah, exactly. That when they created the thing, they thought, well, something could go wrong. This could be dangerous. Let's build something that really can keep it out.
I can see the scientists who suggest that in the Dharma meeting, like, maybe we should build a sonic fence just in case Smokey malfunctions. Oh, Jensen, you're such a pessimist. Nothing can possibly go wrong. And then when Smokey first attacks, everyone like high fives Jensen. Great job, Jensen. Yes. Where's my thank you? Thanks, Jensen. You're great. We should always listen to you.
It's about time.
It's about time. Now give me a kiss, Juliet.
Now about that raise. Oh, that too.
Exactly. Now about that raise.
I don't know why he's talking to Juliet, but why not?
Yeah, I don't know either. I didn't say it was the Juliet we know. I just said Juliet.
This is someone named Juliet. Fair enough.
Just someone named Juliet.
Why not? It's one of those names you hear all the time.
Hey, it could happen.
It could happen. It could happen.
His wife, Juliet Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
Her friends call her JJ.
I see. Wow, you got a whole story there.
I got a whole backstory there, yeah. The Jensen Chronicles. I could write a little thing about
a little spin-off kind of thing.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
The man behind the fence. It means two things, anyway.
It means two things.
And no more.
And no more, and no less. It equals 2. Okay, so how long have we been recording? I forgot we were actually recording here.
I haven't paid attention. I'm going to guess like an hour and a half, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
That's a nice quick one, a little one-off podcast.
Before we go,
you know.
Maybe we can quickly address the fact that Michael's coming back.
Sure, let's talk about old Harold P.
So,
for those who haven't heard,
yeah, you wanna?
Go ahead. Yeah, Harold Perrineau's coming back. Perrineau,
whatever. Yeah, who knows? I think it's O, but whatever.
I think he pronounces it Perrineau.
As you...
Because it's Lindsay Lohan.
Oh. Okay.
Not Lohan. It's
sometime
Lohan.
around 1995, he decided to start calling himself...
Yes, because it sounded better that way.
Yes. Right. So, for those of you who don't know, he played the character Michael in seasons 1 and 2. Before he, departed from the show in the finale of season 2, after committing a couple of murders and betraying the camp by working with the others. I have a question about that.
Okay.
I don't know if we really can get into it. I just want to ask it, just to lay it on the floor.
Lay it on the floor. I hope the floor ain't dirty.
It's not really the expression I wanted, but whatever.
Spread it out all over the floor. I just vacuum, so it's okay.
So I'm just wondering, the others took Walt, for some reason, presumably,
quote unquote reason,
and were protective of him, and would only give him back, by them getting Jack Kane Sawyer and also Ben, back. I just wonder, I just wonder if it still makes sense how much they seem to care about Walt. I don't know. It just when I think about that story, it just seems odd that I don't know, that they cared that much, based on what we've seen. That they cared that much, and then they were willing to give him up and not really say a word about it again.
What's your question?
I mean, it's just, I guess the question is,
what's up with that?
Yeah, why did they want Wall? And why was that such a big deal? And then who cares?
The only real thing I can think is that they had one idea for what they were going to do with Walt, and then and Ben, And I think it shifted. They had some different ideas, and I think Malcolm David Kelly got older, and they were like, "Ooh, this is crazy." And then they liked Emerson, and they liked Ben, And I think those two things sort of changed their direction, and I think they tried to tie up those loose ends as best they could. I don't think it makes a lot of sense because Walt seemed very important at one point, and then he seemed expendable at another. Because they could have easily tricked Michael and said, "Ha ha, we're not gonna give you your boy back."
Of course they could have.
Yeah. So even though I keep my word or whatever.
Yeah, the guy who shot Locke in cold blood, for knowing something about Jacob, I mean, I find it hard to believe, who pretty much maybe like tricked Juliet into staying on the island. I mean, I find it hard to believe.
Not to mention killed his dad.
And, conspired to kill everyone in the Tarma camp. I find it hard to believe that he's morally above betraying Michael because they really need Walt for some higher purpose. I mean, it seems like he's exactly the kind of person who would do that.
Exactly.
And so it just makes all that hoopla seem weird that they went out specifically looking for Walt, and in the whole season 2, they did a lot of shit, seemingly to get a hold of him, and then with all the drama around, getting him back, it just, I don't know.
Yeah, I really think it's just one of those things that they kind of shifted their focus on what they wanted to do with the characters and the storyline. I mean, because, realistically, if I can use that word, talking about a TV show, they could have, taken Walt and Michael. They could have said, "Hey, your kid's special. We're going to take him anyway. If you want to come, that's good. Why don't you come?
Yeah.
And you can, and it'll be okay with you. And then, but obviously that's boring.
That is boring.
For the show. But,
yeah.
I mean, they could have done that if they really wanted Walt. There's something to be said for diplomacy. But I really think they just shifted their focus. Season 2, so much of season 2 was about getting Walt back. It's obviously Michael's storyline, and then the whole betrayal with that. And I think they got a chance to not only get to put Ben in a higher position. They wanted to use him as the main leader of the others. They wanted to get Malcolm David Kelly off the show. Presumably, they wanted to get Libby and Lucia off the show, contract-wise or whatever the real reasons are. So, they got to do all that, fairly easily by the way they constructed the story. But, the negative side of that is that they sort of, it doesn't really add up why they wanted Walt so bad at one moment, and why. And then, of course, now they don't really care anymore. Haven't mentioned a word about it.
Yeah.
And actually, I think there's more important things going on now. With Ben and Locke, than that Ben is way more concerned about that than anything else.
Yeah.
We have Walt is kind of back now to a certain degree, so maybe we'll get some more answers. If that is really Walt in any sort of fashion. So maybe we'll get some more answers. I think at some point we'll find out why they wanted him. Which I think will sort of answer some questions, but presumably he's got these powers or something, which he was really the only character on the island with powers.
Yeah.
Walt has Locke
until Desmond.
Yeah, until Desmond with his
half-assed sort of future predicting power.
Yeah,
that doesn't work most of the time, but somehow it's great anyway.
Somehow it's great.
But it's a sort of a power. Because Walt didn't exhibit anything terribly explicit either. He actually seemed to have some kind of future predicting power.
Yeah, I mean he told Locke not to open it before he should have even known what that was about.
Yeah. And then when he's talking to to Michael, after Michael finds out that he burned the first raft.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael's like, "Oh, you want to stay here? We don't have to go." And then he's like, "Yes, we do."
Mm-hmm.
And, seeming to suggest that, he has some specific reason why they have to go, that he knows,
I think we talked about that back when it was relevant, that, if he can sort of see the future in any respect, he says, yeah, we got to go, but them leaving got him captured.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So, I mean, did he know he was going to get captured and knew he was going to be okay and knew at the end he'd be reunited with his dad and then they would really leave the island? Or did he really think that they were going to be rescued by just getting on the raft and going?
At the time when they were writing that, I highly doubt they knew all of the future events that took place in season 2 and after that. They probably knew he was going to get kidnapped at that point, but all the shit that happened in season 2, I doubt it.
I think they must have had some idea of what the others were going to do with him. I mean, you can't say as a writer, okay, yeah, in the end of season 2, they'll kidnap Walt, and then we'll figure out why later. Like, they need to have some reason why. They may not have known if he was, going to get back with his dad in season 2 and that they were going to leave the show. I don't think they really knew that. But they must have some sort of reason.
They should have had some reason in mind. Yeah, definitely. Although I still wonder, about those age-old mysteries. Him appearing like wet and talking to Shannon and also talking to his dad maybe on the computer. Those things are still just like, I don't know what to make of that stuff. Except like atmosphere building and like also the typing and actually his appearances both did have a plot function in the end. But it doesn't appear that we don't know why they happened, and we don't know what their purpose was, for real purpose, not just like plot purpose.
Yeah, I really think that Walt has the ability to remote view himself or whatever, or reapparate and disapparate, as some of you HP fans might refer to it. Yes, I know the lingo. So, I mean, I think he has some sort of power, and I think those are examples of that power. Why, I don't know. And now that he's kind of back, but that's the thing, it could just be a hallucination. Walt could be dead, and that could be just, his island counterpart, as we've seen other dead people's counterparts. So, I mean, not that I really think they would tell us Walt's dead. That's kind of gruesome, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, all right. So putting that aside,
put that on the floor. Oh, it's already on the floor, right?
So I watched the full thing.
What full thing?
The Comic-Con.
Okay.
Panel, and I watched them, bring him out, and
I wish I would have watched that. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, it was a big hoopla, and based on that, I have come to the conclusion that he's going to be a regular in season 4.
We're talking about Michael.
Yeah, Michael. Who did you think I was talking about?
Well, we were just talking about Walt.
Oh.
I thought you were going to say something else about Walt, but we're talking about Michael. Okay,
no,
I forgot that the bigger picture was Michael.
Yeah, the bigger picture was Michael. Right. So they brought out Harold at Comic-Con as a stunt, basically, and then announced again that he was coming back to the show. Now they didn't state that he was going to be a regular, but I'm interpreting it that way. Although it barely matters, as we discussed, because you can be a regular and not necessarily be in every episode, or even significantly in most of them.
Yes.
So I think him getting a flashback or two and maybe cameos and a few others could be the extent of his involvement, but maybe, presumably that would be enough to wrap up his story somehow, hopefully address the Walt issues and also address the what happened to him after they left issues. And possibly shedding light on, if it actually was him in the coffin, how that happened. I don't know, something like that,
Yeah, I mean, my own personal view is that I really don't think we're going to see him on the island in the present term. You and I talked off podcast at length about
yes, we did
about his return. And I just don't personally believe there's any story left. With the caveat being that they're writers, they can make story, or there is no story. That's kind of their job, technically speaking. But you know what I mean. And
there's not any obvious story.
Yeah, exactly. I really think that what we're going to see, hopefully, is how they got rescued, if they did get rescued, which I think they did, and I think we're going to see some future flash forward stuff, presumably, how Michael was killed, or something like that, or because I think he's the one in the coffin also. And I think they might touch upon, what's going on with Walt, why he is quote unquote estranged from his father, in the future. So I think that's really going to be the extent. My guess is he's going to be that he might have one or two episodes that are largely about him, in sort of the flash forwards or something, or one of the main storylines. I don't think we'll see Michael in more than like 4 episodes next season.
Yeah.
In any capacity. Because they only have 16 episodes, and they've got a lot of other characters to deal with.
Yeah, true.
And if he comes back to the island, I mean, isn't everyone going to kill him? I mean, even if he comes back like, hey, I came with a rescue party, which I think is ridiculous. But like, hey, I'm trying to rescue you guys, or hey, I feel bad about killing, people and deceiving you. Kate's still pissed off in the future, so presumably he didn't make up for it in the past.
Yeah.
Unless she like sort of, I'll forgive him, but I won't forget or something.
Yeah, some bullshit like that. Yeah. I don't know that if he showed up, they'd just like shoot at him instantly.
I don't think they would necessarily do that.
Ben got away with walking up to him. I mean, he is Ben, but I feel like if he can do it, Michael can too.
With walking up to who?
The Losties.
What do you mean?
Well, he intercepted them as they were trekking across the island.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't just like shoot him. I mean, he did get beat up eventually, but but he managed to live through it. I feel like Michael wouldn't necessarily just hey guys, boom, dead. Like
he didn't, but
I think people would be
personally kill anybody though.
Well, yeah, technically.
I mean, no, I don't think anyone would really go kill Michael sight unseen. But you know what I mean. They'd be very pissed off, and they be very hesitant to believe anything he said or even trust him again.
Yeah, that's the thing. People would be pissed. It wouldn't be a nice scene. I just instant death. I mean, because Ben was to some extent responsible for what Michael did. Who knows how directly, but. If it was his idea originally, if he masterminded the whole thing, or if really it just went on without his knowledge for his rescue, it's not really clear what the deal with that was. But although we did get the revelation that we also discussed that supposedly him getting trapped was an accident.
Yeah, when the big incident when, quote, Henry Gale was trapped by Russo's trap, that was not intentional that he was trapped. He actually got caught in that trap by accident. So that that's a mildly interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, that was something they threw out there. Barely prompted. The question I think was about something else, somehow related, but they just kind of tossed that out as a little nugget. I guess along the lines of the Cerberus events. Just a little extra something. To me, it doesn't matter that much, but the idea that he masterminded the whole thing seems a little bit hurt by the idea that was an accident.
I just thought of something a little off topic, but I just realized that the more I feel like the more we learn about Dharma, it doesn't really help us learn more about what's going on now.
Yeah, I agree.
Like it's sort of kind of totally unrelated. Which is really interesting because, we get a fair amount of Dharma stuff every now and then. Obviously, that's why we're podcasting now for the new Dharma stuff. But, it doesn't seem like that's really going to tell us what the others are up to or, what Ben is up to or any more about Jacob. Although one of the things we didn't specifically say, which I just thought of, is that it's interesting to see the Jacob line in a Dharma video.
True.
As opposed to just an others type of thing,
right.
other/hostile thing.
Well, that
was an actual Dharma video.
Yeah, that was the weird thing about the brainwashing video is it had Jacob, but it also had a little DeGroot in there, a Dharma thing.
And that was obviously a Dharma station. Or a little adjunct station, whatever that was, whatever that sort of building was.
Yeah. I always got the impression it was the same building, but it was just around the back. But
I feel like if it's not physically connected, it's supposed to be part of the same, Hydra station.
Yeah.
But that lends the idea that Dharma was brainwashing people, which for legitimate scientists, that's really strange and crazy.
True.
Even in, that's the thing. In the 70s, weren't they doing all kinds of stuff? My point is, there's been examples of, quote, legitimate research and scientific exploration with doing, fairly unethical things.
Sure.
So they could doing some unethical things
scientists.
like brainwashing and stuff and
I think already, the deception and the secrecy about some of this stuff seems to indicate a certain level of,
duplicity.
That in general you want to do science in the open. You're not keeping things secret. That's generally considered to be the good way to do it. You're not trying to hide your methods or your
that's
findings.
a very, very, very good point. If these were legitimate scientists and stuff, why would they want to hide all this? Presumably you'd only want to hide something like that, until you're maybe done with your experimentation, and then you can release the information.
Yeah.
Or unless you're trying to profit from it, because obviously Hanzo, and seems like a guy who wants the money.
Sure.
Or so it's interesting that they are doing this stuff largely in secret, and on an island that's not easily accessible. But
or maybe he's just a great philanthrope who's interested in humanity's survival. And he's trying to bring that about by investing in research.
Why?
But I think the tendency, and the way science is depicted in entertainment, is to sensationalize it a bit and make the people, it's just kind of more interesting for them to be secretive than for them to be open. And the way science is done in the real world, a lot of collaboration and communication with other scientists, and I think publishing and stuff like that, it's the kind of stuff that just doesn't translate to entertainment very well. Secret research is more interesting. So,
and there's not a lot of research that really has global catastrophe implications.
Yeah, true.
I'm sure a lot of the research with the atomic bomb stuff was fairly secretive at the time. So
it was for that reason.
Yeah, and it was wartime too. So that's part of the reason you need to keep secrets. But.
Right. But that's not the ideal in the science world. Generally speaking, developing weapons is not really what science tries to do most of the time. In that case, that's what they did. So there's a precedent for it, and it's not as though it never happens. It's just that your average everyday scientist is not like this. So. But it was in the 70s, scarier time, I guess, and maybe not. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I said that, and then I wasn't sure I agreed. I think the 60s might have been scarier, but maybe not the 70s. I don't know.
70s had really good movies. How scary could it have been?
Yeah, good point. So, I mean, the idea that if they're actually trying to develop, it just seems like if they're trying to save the world, they shouldn't be secretive. I'd expect them, if they were trying to save the world, if they were trying to destroy the world, to be secretive.
Yeah, it's strange because, I mean, what are they really going to do? Like, hey, I mean, presumably, they had to press the button after the incident, which they presumably caused. So it's like, hey, we fucked up. We did something we shouldn't have done. Now, in order to keep the world safe, we have to press this button every 108 minutes. I mean, what is the public going to do with that information? Besides live in fear that someone won't press the button.
Yeah.
If they choose to believe it.
Yeah.
And how do you prove that? And is it even true? We don't even know if it's true. I mean, with the whole Pearl thing, and we know something was going to happen.
According to the special, I believe that they showed right before the season 3 finale, they essentially confirmed that not pushing the button. And then throwing the failsafe did save the world to some extent. They said some words along those lines.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I believe we are supposed to believe that. I think I said that back then.
No, I don't really listen a lot.
Yeah, I know. Well, it happens. So I think we are supposed to believe that it would have done that. Despite evidence to the contrary, in the form of the Pearl. And also Kelvin's doubt/not doubt.
Wow. I mean, Desmond is the real hero then. Screw Charlie. Desmond's the biggest hero since George Washington or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Desmond is a true hero, definitely. Assuming that's the case. Not that really anyone else could have done what he did. No one else knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes the line between being a hero and being something is knowledge. I don't know.
I mean, it's still heroic, but it's sort of like, no one else could have done it. So, the fact that you did it's good, but it's not as though anyone else could have stepped in and been the hero. I think in the case of Charlie, it seems as though someone else could have done it, as long as they knew the tune.
They needed someone musical.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the only...
Or someone who knew the code.
Yeah, or someone who knew the code, yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's why they put the music thing in, to make it seem like it really had to be him. I don't know.
Yeah, they tried to make it seem like fate. Here's another little case where, oh man, if it was somebody else, they wouldn't be able to guess what the... not that I think, you know what I think about that whole thing.
Oh, I remember.
You remember, yeah. I'm a nitpicker. That's my thing. Yeah, so anyway, I mean, okay, it would have destroyed the world, whatever.
Yeah.
I believe it only in the sense they claim it's true, but my point is, if they did, even, I'm just sort of playing devil's advocate or whatever, or the other side of the argument, but like, if they did release that information, I mean, what would the public do with that? I mean, what can you do with that information? But be scared if you believe it, you know, which I think most people wouldn't unless it's somehow validated, you know. I mean, and the only real way to validate it, I think, would be to have, like, you know, reputable scientists or, like, government officials go to the island, see it, and maybe even see it, you know, a couple seconds after it not being pressed. Or, I mean, how do you validate something like that without the world blowing up, you know?
Yeah, no, I think realistically, if you know, if they wanted to go down there and do research, you know, they would have been open from the beginning. And if they were going to do something that had the potential for, you know, for this extremely dangerous event to happen, then there would have been some concern about that before they proceeded. And you know, the right thing to do would have been to you know, proceed more cautiously.
Or maybe the case is that you know, they went there, you know, they were just going to do some casual experimentation and, you know, research, and then they fucked up, and, you know, the incident happened, and then they basically said, well, we can't tell anyone because maybe they would be indicted on some sort of charges or something, some sort of, I'm sure there's something about, I don't know, almost blowing up the world or something.
Sure.
Is that against the law somewhere?
I think there's probably something you could.
Yeah, some sort of crimes against humanity or something.
Yeah.
Or conspiracy to commit a crime against humanity.
Yeah.
So maybe
extremely irresponsible research practices.
Yeah. So maybe you know, they after you know, they you know, fucked up, that they really couldn't go and tell anybody because it would, you know, they're the reasons that this problem existed.
Yeah, I can buy that, because I find it hard to believe that scientists who knew what they were doing would have no idea that what they were doing could be dangerous to that extent. You know, that they would just be, like, doing innocuous stuff, like studying bunnies, and all of a sudden, oh, wait, we created something that's going to destroy the world. Like, you know, I don't think that would just happen out of nowhere. I think they must have known they were getting into some you know, scary area, and I think that's a point where, you know, the average everyday scientist maybe doesn't proceed or takes a lot more safety precautions, you know, before. So I think that's in the real world. That's where you know, you don't let the incident happen.
Yeah, but I think with something like what they're dealing with, I could see, like, you know, no scientist in the world really being capable of, you know, understanding what's going on. Like, you know, the idea that they literally got in over their heads.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, what we're doing isn't that crazy. It's not that crazy. Oh shit! Like, we totally lost control of this.
Yeah.
You know, and I can see that happening. You know, oops. You know, and that happens. I mean, think about, like, you know, Madame Curie with you know, with the you know, radiation experiments, or like you know how you're researching something and you think it's pretty innocuous, and then, oh no, I've got cancer and I'm dead. You know, something like that.
Not quite destroying
but on a bigger
the
scale.
world.
On a bigger scale, of course.
Because, I mean, I just think if you're dealing with those forces, I feel like if they were competent scientists, if they really didn't know what they were doing, then that's bad. You know, I'm assuming they did, and if they did know what they were doing, then they should have known they were dealing with something that was potentially extremely volatile. I mean, I don't think scientists in general just go out and, like, do shit and see what happens, you know.
But I'm saying maybe they didn't know how much energy was there, like that there was enough energy to destroy the world or whatever, you know, what was going to destroy the world. Like, they knew something was there, but they miscalculated how much. And so, oops, you know, they followed the right precautions, but they just didn't have the right information and expertise, because it's something, you know, obviously this is the, you know, most likely cutting edge science here that they really didn't have a lot of experience with. So, I mean, and they knew enough to sort of, you know, create the fail-safe and to create the button and stuff, you know, which is, you know, pretty advanced, I think, you know, some sort of machine or contraption that can sustain that amount of energy.
Yeah, it seems like if they understood it to that extent, they could have just, like, you know, prevented the problem.
Yeah, well,
altogether.
and that's the thing. They didn't prevent the problem, so either they were just incompetent or they really didn't know what they were getting into.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the two, so.
Yeah. Yeah, could be either one. They're both a sense of a little bit of incompetence. But maybe they're more to blame for one than the other. But yeah, that could be. I could see that. I could see that.
I mean, even in this orchid orientation video, I mean, they're doing experiments that, like she says, we don't even know how to whatever yet. I mean, they're already doing something and they don't have full control over. So, that just goes to show you, if they're doing this with rabbits,
Yeah, it's a pretty good insight into the inner workings of Dharma. I guess I don't think we've really seen that before. Because when we saw Ben's stuff, he never saw the real shit they were doing. His dad was just a janitor pretty much, and so he never got to see anything really interesting, and neither did we. So this gives you a glimpse inside one of the stations, seemingly in a working state. It seemed like in the other cases, I guess with the Swan and with the other one, the Pearl, they hadn't started yet or whatever when he was recording the thing. Although I think in the Swan he was just looking at a model of the place, and in the Pearl it seemed like he was actually standing in there.
You just said something that made me think of something interesting to bring up, and I forgot. You said this gives us an insight into Dharma. Oh, something about. Oh crap! What was it? Something about. You said we haven't seen that before. I don't remember. I was going to bring up some point about that. You said Ben. We didn't see anything with him. I don't know. It's gone.
Okay. Yeah, I just think it showed us it showed us what it was like to be in one of those places when things were going on. And did Marvin maybe actually work there? Is that possible? Was that actually his place to be?
You mean that was his official capacity? That was his main job right there?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Just a thought.
It's really hard to tell what this guy's whole thing was. He's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
He's like the Dharma poster boy.
Yeah, he's the face of Dharma.
Yeah, the face of Dharma with one raised eyebrow. And sometimes two working arms.
Right.
And the idea with the arm, I was thinking that, depending on when the video, the sequence of the videos, maybe something happened to his arm, Maybe one of the rabbits ate it off, and then he had to get like a prosthetic arm or something.
Oh,
so, in some of the videos, maybe he had the prosthetic arm because it took place after some sort of accident that happened to him. And maybe the accident made him schizophrenic, and he doesn't know who he really is. and he maybe a giant candle fell on his arm.
There we go.
A giant candle fell from the ceiling because they were experimenting with candle cloning. This is my official lost theory, by the way.
There we go.
And they're experimenting with candle cloning. They had a large amount of wax that they were trying to duplicate with the Casimir effect.
Yeah, of course.
And so, his arm gets trapped into this giant candle, the world's biggest candle, by the way. And which is what they were really trying to do. Dharma was trying to win the Guinness Book World Record for the largest candle. And, and they were trying to study the psychological effects of candles and things like that, and the magnetic properties of candles, which they found are none.
Yeah.
And,
not surprisingly.
You have to test it. You
Okay.
can't just always assume.
Yeah.
They're scientists. And then, of course, his arm gets smashed into the world's giant candle. They have to amputate his arm. He gets a prosthetic arm, and the trauma of which creates all this stress, and he has post-traumatic stress syndrome, which makes him slightly schizophrenic, and therefore he creates his alternate personas with names that vary upon the idea of candles and wax.
Mm-hmm.
It's my official Lost theory. I think it's pretty good.
Well, it certainly explains his character. It's not really a grand unifying theory in that it doesn't really talk about anything but...
Well, like what?
I don't know. Classic smog monster.
He's a big candle.
Okay.
He's a new kind of candle from the future.
Of course. Okay.
What else you got?
How about... I don't know. What else is there?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, we're done. You got it.
I don't have to watch the show anymore. I just figured it out. It's all about candles. So I'm sorry if I ruined it for the listeners. It's all about candles.
We should have done a spoiler warning.
Yeah, well, now they can have time to knit or something. They don't have to watch Lost anymore.
That is the correct hobby to take up instead of Lost.
Exactly.
Just
knitting.
so you know, that's what we endorse.
We endorse knitting. And if you want to knit us something,
we
a candle perhaps.
Yes, please.
Maybe a candle cozy. But I guess it might catch on fire.
Yeah. Seems like a bad idea, but
yeah,
but
nice to have.
It's worth a try.
Anyway, I remember what I was gonna say. It's a small thing, but I was just gonna say that I wanted to bring up the vaccine again.
No!
In that.
Okay, sorry.
And I don't know what I wanted to say about the vaccine, other than just to say again that they were given vaccine. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to tie the vaccines with the idea of the fertility. We were asking ourselves earlier about did Dharma know about the fertility problems that the island seems to create, and the idea that the vaccine that we've seen the vaccine in the present, with Claire, blah, 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 and Charlie telling her to take it and stuff like that. And is the vaccine some sort of fertility thing? So I was just going to tie the idea that when everyone comes to the island, the Dharma people were coming to the island, they were given this vaccine. So that might mean that, if the vaccine is a fertility thing, then that might mean they knew about it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like maybe the vaccine protects you against now why they would give it to men, I don't know. Maybe that's part of the problem is you got to have the men and women inoculated, and then therefore you can have a healthy baby, healthy pregnancy, healthy birth. I don't know. I'm reaching here, but
yeah. So that's what you were going to say earlier.
That's what I was going to say
when you forgot. Okay. That reminds me, correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't even mention that vaccine that Charlie gave to Claire in season 3, did they?
Oh, no.
I don't remember them even bringing it up. Even when Claire got sick and there was that whole scare, and then Juliet was like, I'm going to go get some stuff. No one brought up, Charlie nor Claire brought up, and even Desmond knew about it. None of them brought up that stuff. I never saw her think about using it, never saw her even say, oh, I'm not going to use that. Nothing. Why did they do that? What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a hanging thread there.
Why waste time if you're not going to, that late in the season, did they have no idea that they weren't going to do anything with that?
Maybe they just ran out of time, or maybe we'll find out later that. I think that was the idea, wasn't? or maybe that was wrong. But I think that's what we thought, that she had been taking the vaccine that Charlie gave her, and when she got sick is when she ran out and stopped taking it. But I think that's wrong because she got sick because of the implant, apparently.
Right.
But maybe that's a lie. I don't know. But I think
implant.
that was our original. Yeah. Those are our original ideas, that she was taking that injection that kept her healthy for a while, and then when it ran out, because obviously she didn't have an infinite supply. When she ran out, that's when she got sick.
When did we think that? While watching the show?
I think I came up with that idea, but I think it was sort of negated by what Ben said, that or that idea that it was the implant that made her sick.
Okay.
But that was one of my early ideas. But so I mean, it could be true, and Ben was lying, right? I don't know.
Ben lies all the time, but
I mean,
I don't think he was lying in that case. Because his whole plan revolved around making her sick. I mean, how did he know she was going to get sick? If
Well, okay. Here's the
couldn't
thing.
control it.
I'm on the Lostpedia page right now. Let's look at the history of the vaccine here. Okay.
Just a quick walking tour.
So the first time we see it, obviously, is when Desmond is taking it and the Swan, right?
Yeah.
Now the vial contains a label CR 481516-2342, which is obviously the number.
Blah blah blah. Right.
Blah blah blah. So interesting, and he's taking this every nine days. He's been taking it every 9 days for 3 years, right? Okay, now when Claire is abducted by Ethan, he injects her with the substance, the vial. It's the same stuff. It's got the same label on it, CR blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And this says, additionally, the vaccine had the inscription RX-1 GND, and had the staff logo on it. Okay, so presumably what Desmond was taking, Ethan was giving to Claire/Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously it's something important, right? Sure. Because I could believe that, Desmond was tricked into taking it, even though he found out that there was no sickness, right?
Yeah, that's the problem with that whole thing.
Let's put that on the wall for a second. That's the first problem.
He found out
that there wasn't
and then
a sickness,
kept taking it anyway.
But then he kept taking it. Maybe he was paranoid. But anyway. So Ethan was giving Claire the same stuff. Let's see. It says Aaron later contracts a fever, after he's born, of course, contracts a fever and a rash, which Claire and Danielle believe is due to the sickness. That's when Claire goes back to the station to look for more vaccine, but there's none.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Charlie gives her some from the supply drop that she's supposed to take, an injection every 9 days.
But by this point, the baby's already gotten better, and they've determined that it's not the sickness.
It wasn't the sickness, yes.
So it was just like, babies get sick. What are you going to do?
Which I must put together that if Danielle saw that the baby had a fever and a rash, then presumably those are the symptoms of the sickness, which led her to kill her team. Yeah. If in fact that's what she did. Yeah. I'm skeptical until I see her flashback. I don't want to believe. I don't want to believe a lot of what she says.
Yeah, that's something that. Brief note. Someone asked about Danielle flashback. They said, season 4 or 5, which to me means probably 5.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're like, we'll get it in if we can. I mean, like. Yeah. And don't you guys know when you need to have that in there?
Apparently not. And when people say something like that, I always assume the later one is probably more likely.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not high priority.
Yeah, they're hedging their bets. They're not like, we have to get to that in season 4. So yeah, I think it'll get pushed aside. But they said that they did say something like there are some specific reveals in the flashback that have to be saved for a certain time in the story. They have to be brought in at the right time. So I'm guessing there is something to be revealed in that flashback beyond just a literal, recreation of events we've seen described. However, I do believe she killed her science team because she thought they were sick.
Well, I think we're going to find out that Montan, who lost his arm, is really Marvin Candle.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
That would be really. I don't think I could believe that because he should have been there earlier than that, and I don't know. That's
maybe he left. Maybe he left and came back with himself.
He left and came back. Okay. I guess, hey, it's a good Asteria.
And then I guess recorded some videos after he came back. That makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty weird. That was pretty recent to be doing videos. But hey.
Hey. Okay. Anyway, so back to the vaccine timeline here. The Dharma workers, like we said, were being given something similar to the vaccine, at least.
That's the closest thing to a mention, I guess, of the Cygnus in season 3, which also wasn't addressed.
Yeah. They never actually said anything, right? No one said, like, what did someone actually say, like, what's this? And they said, oh, like, this is something. Did anyone in that flashback that you remember question why they were getting injected?
I don't think so, but I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think so either.
I remember he got mad about his job, but I don't remember him saying anything about the vaccination. I don't even think we saw him or Ben.
I don't think. Yeah.
We did just like in the background.
Let's see. So then, of course, Claire gets sick, and Juliet goes to get her little stuff. Now, I think, well, obviously we talked about this, but, so basically, it's been a while since we talked about it. The idea is basically they had an implant that caused her to get sick, and then either Juliet's medicine, turned off the implant or made her feel better, or Ben turned off the implant, and the whatever she gave her did nothing.
Yeah.
That was, this whole plot line seems to be just really contrived.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Not at all.
Yeah, it doesn't, because Claire didn't conceive on the island, so why is she even being? Oh, that's the thing. She's not. She's because of the implant. Sorry. Juliet tells her it's because of the. I get confused with like what people say and then, like what's actually true.
That's the problem with like surprise revelations. You want to stick to the thing that they harp on for most of the episode, not the thing they just throw out real quick at the end.
Yeah.
But the thing they throw out real quick is the truth. So. That makes it tricky. But yeah, right. She that was a big thing. It was like that's what I was thinking. It seems like she shouldn't have been, but she was, and then the logistics of the whole thing in terms of having the implant and how they activated and deactivated. I mean, that makes it seem really silly to me.
Yeah, and when did they implant her?
Presumably when they had her.
Mm-hmm.
Which, shows a sort of bizarre, far-reaching foresight. And
who has the medical knowledge to insert an implant into Claire?
And that's what
I forgot Ethan was there. That was before he's dead. I forgot that was before Ethan was dead.
Oh, yeah. There you go. And I love this thing that, they can just say, like, yeah, we got an implant that if your heart goes high, it kills you, and we got an implant that just makes you sick, and they don't have to show anything.
They don't have to show a thing. That's great.
They can just, like, say, like, they have an implant that does whatever, and, we never have to see anything. It's such like a low-budget kind of thing to do, because you can suggest this, like, crazy shit, but you never actually show anything.
And the realistic portion of this idea of putting an implant in someone, I mean, there would be an incision, there would be a wound.
Yeah.
And I guess, obviously some people heal faster on the island. But, she would be sore wherever they cut her, right, for some period of time or see a scar for at least, the next day or something.
Yeah, and presumably they would have, if they did it when they had her, then she was still pregnant. So that might have complicated things a bit in terms of putting the implant in. I mean, I don't know where it goes, where the sick place is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, logistically, it just seems ridiculous all around. Plot contrivance looks likely on that front.
Is there any way the lie that Juliet told was the truth, and that the truth that they claimed about the implant was a lie? like Ethan was really giving her the vaccine that was keeping her alive, and when Charlie gave her the vaccine, it was keeping her, like it did really help, and that she was sick because she was ran out of the vaccine, and that the implant was a lie because they don't want the losties to find out about the sickness, or to find out that maybe they should be taking the vaccine or something like that. Like they're just trying to cover up what the vaccine really is, and then they just say, "Oh, we have an implant that's doing it."
I guess that's possible. Definitely. Although, I mean, I don't know. It's I mean, she didn't. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It just
she got
either way.
She got injections when she was with Ethan, but she didn't get injections for a much longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
After she left, after she had the baby, through almost the entire course of season 2 until the very end, and we never saw her actually take it either.
Mm-hmm.
She was going to give it to the baby. That was the plot.
Yeah. Oh, wasn't it for her and the baby though? Or was it just for the baby?
Oh yeah. Charlie. Yeah, I guess Charlie suggested both of them.
And it's interesting to note that Ethan told Claire there wasn't enough vaccine for her and the baby, even though there was. But
he did. Yeah, that's completely ridiculous. But yeah, he did say that. But he said a lot of things.
He did say a lot of things.
Oh, what happened to Charlie? Well, I sent him
back to the camp.
Yeah, and he waved goodbye, and we all had a group hug, and then
we danced the jig and drank some McCutcheon, and he left.
So yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes the logistics less ridiculous, and it brings the sickness or whatever vaccine into the story in a real way. But I don't know. We never saw her using it before. I guess they did enough to show her having it. But Desmond tells her, the last thing we heard, I think, was Desmond saying, don't bother, it doesn't do anything, or whatever.
How did he know he was taking it for 3 years?
Drunken advice. I know. That's why I took it for 3 years, because it's a waste of time. Whatever.
Yeah, that just seemed like the drunken, they throw those lines out there.
Yeah, they do. But as I recall, that's the last we heard of it. Before she got sick. It seemed like they could have done a better job of showing her taking the medicine if they wanted to establish that, at least in her episode or something, show that she's still taking it. That it would have been better executed if that's what they really wanted to go with. And structuring that ending like a reveal. I mean, that's it seems like they could have told us something later. I don't know. It just seems odd, the whole thing, if what you're saying is true. But it's odd the other way, too, so,
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense either way. I think it's really because this whole idea of getting Juliet, or getting the Losties to trust Juliet, they kind of needed that for where they were going with that plot, but I think it was just sort of done very cumbersomely.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't really add up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for now I'm gonna go with the implant was the thing, the vaccine doesn't do anything, and it was just a bad dangling plot thread from season 2. That's my theory.
I'll go with you that far, but I have to wonder about Dharma giving it to all their workers when they got there. Well, I mean, why do that? Why waste the time and resources to give it to them if it does nothing?
Well, are we sure are we sure that what Dharma was giving was exactly the same thing?
No, we're not sure. I mean, we didn't see a close-up of it. I mean, Lostpedia says, it looks to be the same color, and it's just sort of similar. But we didn't see a close-up of the vial with the ID number or whatever on there. So we don't know it was exactly the same. But they were giving them something.
Because I was thinking maybe it was just like, you go to college or something and they make you, they make you verify your vaccines and they give you something if you don't have it, and maybe this is like, a little,
yeah.
whatever.
But with kids and stuff too, because kids have a totally different, timeline for vaccines.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was the 70s. I don't really know when the big vaccination program started.
Mm-hmm.
But these days when you go through school, I mean, you're vaccinated several times.
Yeah.
And for specific things. So. It gets a little complicated if they're trying to catch them up on vaccines that they don't have or stuff like that. And what if you don't have your medical records, and what if you don't remember what you did? Like, it seems pretty complicated to do like sort of, one-stop shopping style, which was how they sort of presented it.
Yeah.
Like you come in, you get your uniform, and you get your job, and you get your vaccine, and you go. Like you watch your, So, I don't know. I feel like whatever they were giving people was the same thing, and they gave it to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll buy that cow with you for now, and say that.
Okay.
It was an implant. The vaccine doesn't do anything. Desmond was taking it, but even though he should have stopped taking it, but he kept taking it for whatever reason. Maybe he just liked to get injected. I don't know.
I think they showed it at the very beginning of the season. Him taking it. It created interest. They had this idea of the Cygnus floating around there. I guess Rousseau was the origin of it, and then they had the unfortunate reality that no one was sick, and including Desmond, and by the end of the season, I guess they felt like they had to, do something to kind of address. Yeah.
They would have to explain why none of the Losties are sick, if there is a sickness.
If it's so dangerous out there.
I feel like the answer should be that the sickness just isn't around anymore, not that it never existed.
Yeah.
Not that they had this whole ruse of, there's a sickness and putting quarantine on the doors.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think a lot of it has to do with just the plot and sort of, the realistic nature of having to write these big stories that you run into brick walls. Because I think, stuff like the quarantine and Desmond, like you said, Desmond taking the vaccine at the beginning, that was for a specific thing, trying to make Desmond think there's a sickness, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But that sort of doesn't really apply to the Losties, at all. So those two things don't really correlate. So I think, they're just disjointed by the nature of what they're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
in each case, they're at a different point in the story, and they have different, storytelling needs, and and they don't necessarily match up to each other when you look at them globally.
It'd be great if they did.
Yeah, it would be. But I think it's similar to what you said about Ethan, and my contention that he took her because, she was going into labor, and then it changing to he knew about the manifest because based on later plot developments, the manifest makes more sense. So, it's reasonable that they would move to that, even if that's not what it appears to be earlier in, when they showed it originally. So, they might be, motivated by the way things change to kind of reinterpret or change how we view past things.
Plus, Raised by Another would have been totally different if she had already had the baby. The whole thing of with Alex coming in, like, they're trying to take your baby and they're going to do you a C-section. Like, that wouldn't have been even, that case because the baby would have already been delivered, if she had given birth in that episode and, and it would have been totally different and, the whole thing with the nursery and choosing to give up the baby, they would have just taken the baby.
Yeah, right. Of course, maternity leave is, a season later, at the time of Raised by Another. it seemed like, you know, he wanted the baby.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, oh shit, she's having the baby, boom, got to take her now. Later on, when you find out that's not really the case, then and based on the way things play out of maternity leave, you know, it's like, well, she couldn't have really had the baby then. But but yeah, nonetheless, I feel it's an example of sort of conflicting past events that you know, just get changed over time because of the needs of where the story goes, I guess. And I don't know about this sickness thing. There really was no explicit mention of it in season 3. The closest thing we have is that vaccination, you know, by Dharma. But even that was, you know, a pretty small thing. Wasn't clear why they were doing it, what it was. So I don't know where we stand with that. I guess we'll have to see if they, you know, pick it up again.
And they could. Hey, season 4 is all about the sickness, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we did spend most of the season, which is to say, almost all the season without whispers, and then they just tossed them in there again.
Yeah.
You know, so we know that they didn't forget or give up on them completely. You know, so I guess it's one of those things where when they're writing each episode, there's not like a place for whispers, and you know, and then at some point maybe they realize that, I don't know, or they find a place for them eventually, you know, and you know, they can't necessarily guarantee that there's a whisper in, you know, once every 5 episodes or something. You know, even though in season 1 there seemed to be lots of opportunities for them. For some reason, they kept having people sort of, you know, investigating things alone, and they would hear whispers.
Yeah, and I think they happen a lot in season 1 because they you know, they wanted to use that as part of the mythology of the show to draw interest.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you don't have to do it all the time. So.
Yeah, that's true. But then it gives the impression that you don't care or you've dropped that altogether. You know, if you don't have it happen for a really long time, and if they had avoided it for the entire season, you know, one might be tempted to think they gave up on the whispers. They were just atmosphere or something. You know, but when you're writing, I mean, you know, you can't necessarily force yourself to work in like every story element all the time.
Yeah, like, okay, we got to do this now. Okay, we didn't do whispers last episode. We got to do it this episode.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, that's not good. That limits what kind of stories you can tell.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good way to write. So I'll have to give him some leeway on that. But I think in the end, if other long stories have taught us anything, there's going to be some problems. You know, some earlier events, some of them will come together great and make a lot of sense, and some of them won't. And that's just the reality of these long stories. I really don't know an example of a super long epic with no, you know, problems like this.
Yeah.
Wait,
wasn't Harry Potter perfect?
No.
Didn't you find out at the end Voldemort didn't really kill his parents?
Okay.
Oops, I just spoiled it? Oh, man, I just spoiled it.
Yeah, there's some heated discussion going on about some of the elements of Harry Potter that I read about that I was sent to by the Lost Lowdown, and yeah, in the end, she had a little trouble with a few things, and it's still unclear. It's still like when I was reading it, I really thought it all made sense, but then when I paused to think about it, it's like if we were doing a podcast about the book, you know, we would have to talk about that issue a lot, because it's like there's like 5 things that seem to be going on at once, and it's not clear which one is what's really going on, and it's just kind of a mess. It's clunky, but whatever. Anyway, main point is big, huge stories. You know, people can't keep them all in their head, and so I think generally speaking, that's why you know you have contradictions and rewrites, and also people change their mind about how they want the story to go over time.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you say, oh, this will be better. This is the better reason why, and you know.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a combination of things, but as the story gets complicated enough, you know, even if you have an encyclopedia or someone like Greg Nations to keep track of all your facts, things still slip through.
Yeah.
So you know, I guess the best we can hope for is, you know, the maximum amount of things still making sense.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
Anyway, yeah. So we'll see. We're a ways from the end now.
Humana.
We've got a lot more stuff left to go.
We do. Well, now we have the whole thing with the Casimir effect. So.
Oh, what?
Hmm?
Oh, wait. What are you saying?
I'm saying. What are you saying? I'm saying whatever you're saying.
Oh, okay.
But better. No.
Oh, okay. You're like Judy Dench.
So what else do you do? Is that it? That's all we need to talk about, right? We've talked about the video, which was the main thing, and then we talked about like every other thing.
And then every other thing, yeah, dangling some plot threads.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you know, it's just kind of like everybody, you know, every now and then somebody's like, why did Smokey kill the pilot in the pilot?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just don't think there's much of an answer for that.
There's absolutely no answer. The answer is because they needed to kill him to prove that Smokey was dangerous.
Yeah.
Because, like, just think of how many times, you know, in season 1 in particular, when they had to go into the jungle and they were always scared about Smokey.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't be scared if there was nothing to be scared about.
Exactly.
You know, if he was just this benevolent, like, smoky, you know, smoke creature, you know, who gently brushed against them and, you know, I don't know.
They could pet him and
yeah, they could, like,
give
pet
him
him and he
food and
felt
water.
felt like a lovely cloud or something. And I mean, no, they needed to make him seem scary. They didn't need the pilot as a character on the show.
Yeah.
So he's a prime person to be killed.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they weren't ready to kill main characters yet. It was the pilot, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And you know, they had shown it threatening them, but that's not enough. If you make it really count by having to kill somebody, then yeah, it creates more suspense. And the other thing that I always point out when people bring that up is originally Jack was going to die in that scene. So,
and you know, and not that this is a huge deal, but I would imagine that if the pilot survived, he would be the natural leader for the group.
Yeah, I agree.
I think most people would rally around him, and that would totally change the dynamic of the show, obviously.
Yeah.
So they didn't really want the pilot around anyway, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. That's why they had, what's his name, play him.
Greg Grunberg?
Yeah.
Plus, Greg wanted to go do Heroes a couple years later, so he's fine being Parkman on Heroes, who really annoys me on that show, but that's a different podcast. Parkman, you're such a loser.
Oh.
He's got, like, the worst power.
What's his power?
He can read minds.
Lame.
Which doesn't help if you need to fight somebody like Styler or something, you know, but...
I knew you were about to hit me in the face.
I knew you were about to stab me, and now you did, and now I'm dead, so I'll stop talking to myself now and die. No.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
he's got
right.
one of those powers that's like, it's helpful in situations, but it's not like, if you could pick your power, you wouldn't pick that, you know?
I don't, that's not a great power. It's a good, like, assisting power, but if you want to...
It's good if, like, no one else in the world has powers.
Yeah.
You know, it's great that you can read minds. Awesome. But when other people can have telekinesis or can walk through walls or, like, any, you know, or invincible, like,
you lose.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things I do like about how Heroes, you know, distributes the powers and stuff is, you know, obviously in the, you know, now we're in a Heroes podcast, but, you know, obviously, you know, the explanation on Heroes is sort of an evolutionary answer. And, you know, like other biological traits, they're sort of random. Like some people are tall and strong, and some people are small and weak. Like it's just the luck of the draw. And I think if people did exhibit these powers, it would sort of be like that too. Like some people get the good ones, some people get the crappy ones. So it makes sense in that realm, but it just sucks because that's all I can do. Plus, he's just kind of an annoying character anyway. So
yeah, personality-wise.
Yeah, although his wife is the most annoying, but
well. Yeah, never seen Heroes. Just didn't interest me. But
it's pretty good, I like that stuff, so
yeah.
It's better when it was called X-Men, but
Oh.
I just did like it's 1992.
You did. You did like
I'm hardcore.
You did like a David Spade Hollywood Minute day.
Exactly.
Everybody loved that.
Everybody did love that.
His wit was so biting.
Witty. Oh.
And witty.
I like witty wit.
Seemed redundant, but yes, witty wit.
Well, it means what it says.
It does. So many other things.
Thank you and namaste. No.
It's always good we can end on a weird note like that.
So hey, by chance, do you know what namaste means?
You mean perchance? I thought so.
Well, tell me what you think it means.
But now I don't. I looked it up. I don't remember now.
Yeah.
So, isn't it something like I don't remember.
I bow to you.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from?
One guess.
Wikipedia.
Yeah. Wow. I think Lostpedia, but probably they got it from Wikipedia.
Oh, I bow to you. Interesting. That's not what I thought it was. I thought it was something like, good night and good luck or something like that.
You thought it was a movie? You thought it was a reference to a movie?
No. I just thought it had that kind of meaning.
I see. It was like a all-encompassing goodbye type thing.
Yeah,
like
goodbye with
salutations. Yeah, well, I was just reading this, what it meant, and now I don't see it anymore.
I remember looking it up on Wikipedia, I think.
Yeah, apparently the different, like, nama means something, and then, blah, 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 and you put it together, and I don't see where I read that now, but, no, maybe it's Wikipedia. I'm sure this is terribly interesting for those people who know what it means.
Yeah.
And for those... Yeah, it's just taken literally, it means I bow to you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
May the good in me honor the good in you. My spirit bows to your spirit. When I use it, I mean it in the sense of I'm tired of looking at your face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm going to leave now.
Okay.
A little less humbling, but hey, what are you going to do?
Hey, yeah. No, I mean, words are what you want them to mean. So, namaste. Yeah. Interesting. I looked it up a long time ago.
Oh, so that makes you better than me?
Well, no, not that in itself.
Oh, the other things make you better than me.
No.
Okay, so I think we're done with the podcast since we only have a couple more minutes before TalkShoe cuts us off.
Yeah, we're filling time.
Yeah, we're just lollygagging here.
But hey, this wasn't really a planned podcast. It just happened. So,
just happened. Like the incident.
Like the incident. Oh God. Were we incompetent or Did we just not know the forces we
over
were
our
dealing
heads.
with?
Yeah, I think a little bit from column A, a little bit of column B.
Okay, fair enough.
So
yeah, it was nice that they actually gave us something to look at.
Yeah. It was nice we could actually, talk about something other than our favorite episodes of whatever season that we've already talked about. Not that that's not great, but
Yeah. Yeah, because it is great, right?
Because it's GREAT.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I mean.
I do.
You do good. Tell me later.
Okay.
I forget.
Yeah, I will. We'll save that for off the podcast.
So I guess our next podcast will come out at some point. We'll be doing the favorites of season 2.
I thought we had to finish the favorites of season 1 first.
Oops. Let's go with your plan first. We have to finish. I forgot. We got to finish season 1. We're going to do our second part. Do we need to do that?
Well, need is one of those words that may or may not apply here. I'm speaking to the listeners. Are you really itching to hear more season 1 recaps? I mean, maybe you are. I don't know. But I guess we said we were going to, so I guess we should, right? Yeah, it couldn't hurt. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're I don't think we have to do it, but yeah, I mean, maybe it would be prudent to pick less episodes for seasons 2 and 3 to avoid having to do that. Maybe we just pick one apiece. Okay. Yeah. For the other 2 seasons. Well, if we're going to do that, then why do 2 for this season? Well, I guess we don't have to. I mean, my number one choice... I don't want to be a seasonist. I want to be fair. My number one choice was the one we did. Do you? Yeah. Do you agree with that? I'm fine with solitary. Okay. As opposed to, what was the other one? Numbers? Yeah. Was Numbers my other one? Yeah. The Hurley episode. Okay. Which is pretty good. I think that stands on its own, but yeah. In the grand scheme of the show, it's not that great. Yeah. Which neither is mine. Yours is maybe a little better because the Rousseau thing hasn't quite been solved yet. So you got a little bump ahead on the macro scale. Thank you. But on the micro scale, I really did like my episode the best. So yeah, we could do that. We could just we could even let them know what our second choice is, just for fun, I guess, and then just podcast about the top 2. Yeah, maybe we'll just do that. Yeah, to keep it consistent somehow. That's not a bad idea. I'll go with this. If you guys really want us to go over our season 1 favorites, then let us know. If not, I think the tentative plan is we're gonna skip ahead and start thinking about season 2, our favorites of season 2, and get ready for a podcast about that. And it's just sort of hard to go over something you've already gone over, especially when some of those things don't really in the long run matter. Some of those plots are just like totally self-contained. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's we can do it, but yeah, it doesn't seem worthwhile. The problem is some of my favorite episodes aren't necessarily, the ones that are most relevant to today. I might just like the episode, Which is still fine, I think at the least it needs to be, I like the idea of favorites because, it's something we can talk about. Yeah. Because even the most relevant ones aren't necessarily like, our favorites, and we've already talked about it, and, what more is there to say at a certain point? Right. I know we can talk about, certain episodes for 13 hours long, but even at a certain point, we run out of stuff to say. Yeah, and when more stuff comes along, the more information you get, I think the less you can talk about that older episode. Like the season 2 finale is way less interesting now than it was then. Oh, yeah. I don't think we could go on for as long as we did now. No. So, and I think for season 3 it'll be the same thing. By the end of season 4, it won't seem half as interesting, and
let's hope so.
We'll wonder how we talked for that long about it. When things are open and there's room for discussion and speculation, that's where the time fill comes in.
Yep.
So yeah. Anyway, I like that idea, and then who knows? The DVDs come out in like December or something, and maybe we can talk about whatever's on there.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be another podcast to do, and whatever else comes up.
Yeah, we'll make something up, right?
Yeah. We'll just pull a podcast out of our ass.
Yep, much like a rabbit out of a hat.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, we will close the podcast. Thank you, and namaste.
Namaste, and good luck.